Eccoci qua, ci dovremmo essere. Scusate l'introduzione un po' brutale, ma ho avviato un po' in ritardo, spero che si veda tutto. Adesso mi riduco, siccome è già iniziato e sta già dicendo alcune cose. Non so se si sente in sottofondo, ma adesso aggiungo anche ecco lo schermo. Adesso mi metto qui. Scusate, non ho fatto neanche in tempo a introdurre, ma è iniziata proprio puntualissima. Seguiremo in diretta il webinar di Ian Barker sui 30 anni di Delphi. Dovremmo riuscire a streamare, se tutto va bene, su YouTube, su Twitch, su LinkedIn. Stava facendo vedere che ci sono già i primi saluti e c'è un libro disponibile, Getting Started, su RStudio, che si può scaricare da Get It. Si parla di cose, di librici, di vecchi. Anche io mi nascondo un attimo qua dietro, ho raccattato un po' di roba, libri più due pupazzetti per fare un po' di scena. Scusate. Non si sente Ian parlare, allora adesso lo controllo, eh. Ah, facciamo così, facciamo così. Ho capito il problema, quindi risolviamo subito. Allora, vediamo. Perché non me la fa. No, ok.
He's in Toronto, in Canada. Hello, Bruce. Hope you're doing well. Or am I thinking of Paul McGee?
Ditemi se adesso invece si sente qualcosa.
So many of you. Not as many as the Barkers, though. We're like
Non so se volete anche la chat.
Heito says hello. Ralph says hello from Berlin. Marcin Moskowiec says hello from Poland. Dzień dobry to you,
Okay.
Marcin. I hope
Ora si sente. Ottimo.
Keeping warm. I know
Colpa mia. Infatti stavo verificando un attimo
is not in any way cold whatsoever, is in Trinidad. So those are saying hello to all the people I can for now. Right. So my guests today, I've got a good few of them, shall we say, and I'm going to try and fit them all in. Some of them you're going to recognize me immediately. Some of them you've probably seen on the webinars and things like that. And some of them you may not know what
Ciao Jax,
unless you've been to a user event or something like that, because
ho alzato il volume, ho capito, ho letto adesso.
David I says, hello from snowy Ashland, Oregon. Martin and I are still snowed and iced in. Wow. Yeah, he's got to clear his long driveway after some more warm temperatures and rain. It's been cold here as well in Dallas. It's been below freezing, which is we don't understand how that works. It's not something we do, but yeah, good to hear from you, David. And maybe
buonasera, buonasera.
A happy 30th from Brazil. Bom dia to our Brazilian crew. There are a lot of those around. Salut to Einstein, who's always here in Nantes. Can't say probably hello, good afternoon in German, but I'll say hello anyway. Hi. Guten Tag, I think. Guten Abend. Guten Abend. Anyway.
Premetto che non è sfocato per me, non è colpa mia, che il video risulta sfocato, quindi non è a fuoco lui.
Martin's impressed, I can say that. I have a Polish stepfather. It's about the only thing I can say in Polish. And stolat. If you're Polish, you'll understand. If you're not Polish, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But stolat, yeah, it's a good song. Big love to Delphi from quindi... Walid. Hello, Walid. I know where you are as well. And Safari says Delphi was my second programming language after Turbo Pascal. Absolutely.
Questi non sono tutti,
one of the things that we're talking about as well, is that it's a long history, and there's been
questi non sono tutti libri che ho, però hanno messo giù qualcuno posizionati così tanto per fare un po' di scena.
Number 9 in the TIOB index, not number 10. We're not only in the top 10, we're in the top 9. So hello from Ukraine, hand pink waving. Hope you're keeping well, keeping safe, and you know, world events are not affecting you too horribly. War is always wrong, in my opinion. It doesn't matter who's nobody ever wins in war, and so I do hope you're all keeping well. We don't pick sides. Our only religion is Delphi, and our only politics are tabs or spaces. That's how we work it. So good luck to you all. Malvern Flying Well remembers being at the Moscone Centre on February the 14th. Yes, 30 years ago today for the launch. I'm walking away with the 0.9 pre-release of Delphi to evaluate. Fantastic. In less than a day, we as a company was sold on it. Yes, me too. I read a magazine article about it and went, I'm going to get that. It makes a lot of sense. Wow, so many people saying hi. I'm probably not going to get through them all.
Prima diceva anche che Delphi è sul TIOB Index numero 9.
You know, Kelva is from Brazil, and so is...
Sapete l'indice TIOB che fa un indice dei linguaggi più utilizzati, non mi ricordo i parametri, però c'è il sito, cercate TIOB Index, e era al 10° posto e adesso è passato al 9° da qualche giorno, mi pare, quindi comunque sale, ecco, quindi questa è una buona notizia.
It's fantastic now. I always, you know, have this vision of a kind of strong, you know, Viking/Nordic warrior, you know, coming from England as I do, and being many generations British. We've got a long history of that kind of stuff going on. Jose Zapata. Jose Zapata says hi as well. So hello, Jose, from Spain. And Antonio Zapata will be on later. Oh, he says it's his brother. Antonio says it's his brother. Hey, hello, Jose. Antonio's going to be on later, so you can pull faces at him. How's that? Hi from South Africa. Happy 30th birthday. Who can remember Kylix? Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Thiago Santos, one of our great devs in Brazil. Sorry, I was suddenly in a mental block. David Millington says, hello from Estonia. Not so snowy here, says David. Hello, David Millington. He's saying that in the private chat because I've got him on. Delphi is the continuation of Pascal. Yes, I think that's very true. The continuation of... It was the evolving...
Oh, finalmente qualcuno che scrive da Twitch.
Did it. There was Apple Pascal and a few other things as well, but Delphi became the first definitive...
Vedo dal logo...
Pascal was successful, and
qualcuno che
we're still around.
Segue Embarcadero. Embarcadero è un canale su Twitch.
Whose name I always spell with an A by accident. I'm sorry, Stefan.
Se cercate Embarcadero trovate il canale, oltre a YouTube ovviamente.
He's trying to get Denmark on the map, so hello. You know, Stefan, if it wasn't for the Danish, there would be no Delphi. Is that a fact? I think it is. So that's absolutely true. Anders is from Denmark. Hello from Russia. Hello, Helmut. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Hello from Kansas City. Wow, just up the road. Sorry about the Chiefs. I watched that game, and my brother-in-law lives in Kansas City, and yeah, it wasn't good, was it? So, and Jose says, hi, he's back again. Hello from Syria. And finally, this is the last one I'm going to do for now. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. Inc. Brazil devs. Yes.
Inc. Brazil devs.
I don't know what's going on in the water there, but there are so many Brazilians. It's getting a bit out of hand, but I love it. It's great. You go to Brazil and it's like the heaven of Delphi. Like, you go to a conference, everybody there is super enthusiastic, and I explain why in the video later, but it is what it is. It's great. And Carlos Enrique, hello Carlos, he says happy 30th. Okay, so look, I'm going to stop for now.
Effettivamente sono
I've got some guests who are going to come up. Some of them have joined early. I did warn them it would be a little while before we started. Richard Hazel says Kylix is well represented in my background. Yeah, we all love Kylix. It's kind of absorbed into the kind of, right RTL as it is, but you still see, if you look at the source code, you still see some things talking about Kylix as well. Ray spoke at the Delphi rollout in Seattle. It was full of C programmers. I always say this: if you use anything other than Delphi, it always seems like you're doing it the hard way. I know you expect me to say that because I work for Embarcadero, but I mean it. I think doing it in any other way is extremely tricky to do. Jens in Denmark, TikTok from Spain, again, another one, and Tim, one of my compatriots in Texas, from Cedar Park. And I'm going to mention it, Ivory Coast, Avidius, sorry, stumbled your name, but Ivory Coast. And will the next version of Delphi be called Brasilia? We've had a Rio, so there's a bit of a problem there, isn't there?
Adesso c'è andato a fuoco.
Anyway, look, enough talking from me. We are going to have a video now. It is pre-recorded, so we'll say hi to everybody that's there. Hello from Puglia in Italy. That's the special one for Marco Cantu. I'm sure we there. And hello, Oren. Hello, Oren from Israel as well. Great guy, good developer. Got some very interesting tools as well. But what we're going to do, enough talking from me, enough chat. We'll answer on the chat as we go along. But we have a video to watch. It's 29 minutes long. It's pre-recorded. Some bits are going to be nostalgic. It's kind of a history of kind of developer relations, outreach, versions, and things like that. If I did a comprehensive one, we'd have a video that lasts hours, and we really don't have that length of time to do it. But after the video, we'll come back live to the studio. We're all here, and we will be answering questions in the chat as well. So feel free to ask some questions and talk to us, and we'll be there. Some of the guests you're going to be quite excited to see because they don't often join in on webinars and things like that. So it's you'll know them, don't worry. There we go. So enough from me. I'll be back in about 30 minutes with live guests.
C'è il mio codo che blocca un po' di...
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, in the country, whether you're watching
l'ha fatto con l'AI
o live. Much more fun live.
3 reasons why you should use Delphi today. These are the reasons why I use it. I'm Kivia Emerim, and I live in Brazil, and I have been working with Delphi for 14 years. Reason number 1. Easy for beginners. It looks like low code, but it's so much better. Reason number 2. Following market trends. Yes, you can use Delphi with cloud, with artificial intelligences, and transform your applications into a totally unique experience for your customers. Reason number 3. Developer community. There is a very strong developer community that creates new features and tools every day and is very engaged in trainings and events around the world. And if you want to learn more about this community of developers and all the amazing things that Delphi can do, follow me, Delphi, on Instagram page. See ya!
Io seguirei volentieri, il problema è che parlano sempre spagnolo, io,
Greetings,
scusate,
programmers.
portoghese.
This is Jim McKeith, and I just
Jim
want to take a
McKeith.
quick moment to personally invite you to DelphiCon 2021.
Hi.
Ok, sono filmati vecchi, infatti dicevo, sono rimasti un po'
David
indietro.
Intersimony, also known as David I, Vice President of Developer Relations and Chief Evangelist here at Embarcadero Technologies.
David è un mito.
Hi, my name is Marco Cantu. I'm one of the
Delphi
gurus. I've written a number of books starting with
Temo
Delphi
che sia un po'
and
di
I've
anni
used the
fa,
product
qualche annetto
for the
fa, mi
last,
sa.
15 years, kind of on an everyday basis. I've written books, spoken at conferences, and done a lot of consulting and training on Delphi. Now I'm here to introduce you to the latest book I've written. That's the Delphi 2010 Handbook. It's a book focused on the new features of the product, so it doesn't go over
sono
the
passati
classic stuff.
15 anni da quel libro che mi sembra
You have a
nuovo.
lot of books and stuff behind you. I love it.
Sorry, I'm in my man cave. That was not the intention.
No, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, if you would.
Okay. So my name is Stefan Nyland, and I've been working with Delphi since the start. Actually, I think I have a wasabi thing here, and that's I lost the disc, but this is from the 14th of June 94 actually. But before that, I was actually working with Paradox, and I'm an old product manager on the database stuff in Bolin. But I always loved to work with
Avete iniziato tutti
Pascal.
con la
It's one
prima
of the first
versione.
languages I learned, and it's
Io ho
Denmark,
iniziato
so
con Delphi 4,
we need to learn Pascal, and
Ho
Poly
giusto
Pascal
un
was one
paio
of
di
the first
CD.
things I learned on CPM, so that was great.
Yeah.
But I've been
Delphi 7,
Delphi has been my favorite.
Delphi
Still is. I do a lot of other
2015, scusa.
But I keep coming back to Delphi, and
2005.
right now I spend at least 8 hours a day working with Delphi.
I'm Dalia Prašnikar from Croatia, Zagreb.
Fantastic. Now, you've been pretty active in the Delphi community for a long time, and
Dalia ha appena scritto un
with Delphi?
libro su quality code, qualità nel codice, il testing, molto interessante da vedere così.
Sure. Delphi 4, I think. I used through Pascal in high school, so this is my connection with Delphi, but I didn't start immediately.
I'm Stephen Ball, and I'm the Associate Product Manager here at Embarcadero for Interbase. If you want to catch up with me, or if you have any questions, then please do feel free to email me through. Just take down my blog here. Follow me on Twitter or catch up with me on my blog. There's some in-depth articles there taking us through the depth that I can't cover in a quick video here on change views and some of the extra capabilities around Interbase.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Jim McKeith, and joining me on one side or the other here is Ian Barker. Hello. And we've got our helmets on, so we're protected from Roman, or I guess not Roman invasion, barbarian invasion? I'm not sure.
Other civilizations, yeah.
Yes, other civilizations. Whoever might be invading, we're ready to go.
No, c'ho le cuffie.
I love
Non posso mettermelo con le cuffie.
Because I love the
non ci sta. C'ho le cuffie che mi rompono.
Programming involved as well as the nice GUI interface designer.
Non ce la faccio con le cuffie.
This is going to connect to the headset and then connect to the quadcopter and send the information back and forth. And then I have another app actually that Chris has running on Google Glass here.
Qui quando ho provato a interfacciare Delphi con il controller che va sul
Glass, show my thoughts.
Il brain control. Secondo me ha rischiato grosso.
Okay, great. Okay? So now, go ahead and think rotate right, and we'll see if this bar graph shows anything. There we go. See, it's picking up your thoughts to rotate right. That's good. That's really good. So now I'm going to tap this button here and connect to the quadcopter. And the quadcopter is going to pick up about 3 feet off the ground. Quadcopter is going to pick up about 3 feet off the ground and hover, and at that point, Chris is going to be in control and make rotate right. So if I rotate right, everybody can clap and applause and cheer.
A far volare un drone con la forza
del pensiero. Here we go, here's taking off. All right, so now go ahead and think about rotating right, Chris. There we go, that's Chris right there rotating it right.
Secondo me c'era il trucco. No, scherzo, non lo so però. Ha un po' di... questa se è una carrellata, troverete forse anche qualche case study oppure qualche applicazione conosciuta o anche sconosciuta, perché poi spesso diciamo che quelle più note sono una cosa, però a volte ci sono anche quelle custom che nella loro semplicità comunque vale la pena vederle, vale la pena esaminarle. Questa è bellina. Pioggia in Danimarca, bello. Integrato con Google Maps, prende la posizione, ci sta. In realtà di case study se ne potrebbero fare veramente un sacco, perché Delphi viene usato veramente per una valanga di applicazioni di tipo diverso, bellino, quei grafici anche con sull'App Store. Vediamo se ce ne sono degli altri oppure era un una tantum.
You have hundreds of accounts for websites, apps, and services, and each one gets a password.
Okay, questo
Most of us take something easy to remember, our dog's name backwards plus the year of our first kiss, and use that for everything. Easy? Sure. Secure? No, not at all. If one account were to get compromised, your whole life could be turned upside down. The smart thing to do would be create a unique password for every account, right? Secure? Sure. Easy?
Io so che la prima versione di One Password era stata realizzata in
Sticky
Delphi.
notes? Make up a song?
Non so se lo utilizzano ancora.
No, what you do is use a super smart, super simple app called One Password.
Lui.
With One Password, all you need is one password. What the app does is collect all your unique passwords into one super safe place and locks them up behind something only you know, your One Password. And it's integrated right there in your browser. So when it's time to log in, just click the button, enter your One Password, and you're in. Here's another cool thing. You come to a new site that asks you to make a new account. One Password will generate a new secure password for you and save it where it needs to go. Next time you want to go to that site, just hit the button. One Password will do its thing, and you're in. And it's not just for passwords, it's for all sorts of information you need to keep safe. Bank numbers, credit cards, top secret ideas, files, anything. All locked up where no one can get to them but you, with your One Password. And your passwords are with you wherever you are because your One Password syncs automatically between every computer and device you own. So it's always up to date. No more sticky notes, no more dog names, Just you and your one password.
Ah, questo è vero, era un social che girava un po' di tempo fa come case study, anche se io non l'ho mai provato perché vabbè, mi sembrava il caso, però anche perché sembra l'applicazione Bro, quella Bro o Yeah, dove tu mandi solo baci praticamente, quindi aveva un po' di feature non indifferenti, non è banale, però 100% Delphi ci sono delle cose interessanti perché c'è la parte del video, le foto, questo layout un po' stile masonry, cioè con lo spazio che viene riutilizzato per mettere le foto in modo che occupino in maniera ottimale proprio lo spazio orizzontale, quindi netto di tutto, qui c'è un bel lavoro, come dico sempre io, sembra compra. È l'app per provoloni, insomma. Detta in maniera molto semplice. cos'è la barra del voto? Ah, il contrasto, bello, così ti arrivano le foto delle fighe, come si dice, e puoi andare a tarare per vedere meglio. Questo è un po' malandrina, come feature. Il fatto che apro la foto e regoli il contrasto o la gamma è un pochino... Però splatano ovviamente, perché per non farsi mancare nulla ci sta. Con un team questi hanno, è eccellente anche la presentazione oltre al case study. Ok, qua ci sono le community.
Okay, so joining me live from the UK Dev Group, and I'm going to put the QR code up there, which I can now point to. And he does say at the moment it's not running HTTPS. So
anche in Italia abbiamo gente.
Go through it if it doesn't work. Is Jason?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very well, and we got the HTTPS working just in the last hour. So.
Oh, you did? Oh, well, let me edit that URL because I think my URL is not the HTTPS.
It's one of those things that's just over the horizon and has been for years and years. And on our monthly slide at the meeting, it's like, and this month we will be.
Konnichiwa, Ohio, and more importantly, yo. I don't speak any Japanese, but I thought I'd at least try and say hello in a little bit of a Japanese way. I do apologize. I'm sure I've said it wrong.
And joining us on the line, live from Costa Rica, is Carrie Jensen. There you go,
Hello,
Carrie.
Welcome.
Hello.
Oh, Carrie Jensen fa un sacco di... interviene. Scusate, stavo guardando un attimo Telegram perché ho lasciato un link Delphi Summit, questo forse dell'anno scorso. Questa è una conferenza dove veramente tra l'altro Ian vestito da questa cosa di visitatore non scansionato. Un allestimento della Madonna veramente vabbè, qui vestito da Guerre Stellari, cioè, una volta quando era ancora Borland facevano un sacco di meme con qui è la parte del Brasile. In Brasile so che facevano 4 track contemporanee con 600 partecipanti. Questo è proprio dell'anno scorso, quindi una quantità di persone. Tra l'altro penso con le cuffie anche. Guarda, ho alzato un po' il volume. Cioè con delle cuffie tutti equipaggiati, vedete che hanno tutti le cuffie perché praticamente lo speaker parla, non so se c'è una traduzione in diretta oppure siccome l'audio era molto aperta così tu sentivi fondamentalmente l'audio perfetto dallo speaker perché la stanza era aperta e c'erano 4 track allo stesso, vedete tutti gli schermi uno di fianco all'altro con ognuno la sua platea. È ovvio che se fai l'audio pubblico nessuno sente una mazza e quindi tutti avevano le loro cuffie per ascoltare lo speaker. È una roba altro che spaziale qua, cioè è una roba veramente incredibile. palestrantes sono gli speaker, quindi più di 40 speaker, una certa quantità. No, in Italia non potresti accumulare così tante persone, perché fondamentalmente manca il numero di persone, però so che a livello europeo ne fanno diverse come... Adesso vi rimetto il volume.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. This is Jim McKeith, and welcome to the first of what I hope is many of our Delphi developer debates. Today we are talking about free and nil.
Il dibattito sul free and nil.
The impetus for this was, oh gosh, I can't remember what it was.
Penso con 6 presenti a parlare se si deve usare o meno la funzione free and nil.
And I thought, that's kind of interesting topic. And I'm like, I use free and nil. I think that it has
li porti nella location
but
giusta.
Maybe other people agree with me. So that's the purpose here today. Is we're
diciamo che a livello di location
a number of MVPs.
Non siamo secondi a nessuno. Il problema sono la quantità di persone.
You should write your code in such
a
way that
it is never
necessary.
Dell'evento, quello ovviamente
I don't
è un po' più difficile da ottenere.
Don't
però...
use it, because if you've written your code in such a way that it is necessary, then it's probably a very good idea to use it. You should never let anything at any time in your code be nil.
Ok, diciamo che questo è Nick Hodge, che è un po' un purista.
Hello everybody, here's Andrea Lanussi from Embarcadero. I'm here today to explain how you configure your Delphi 2010 IDE to look like the same Delphi
2010.
Introducing Delphi XC6. See what's new for VCL Windows development in Delphi XC6.
Più guardati del canale
Included
YouTube.
Are application tethering components, Windows taskbar components,
questi video che sono anche un po' vecchiotti comunque sono ancora validi tutt'oggi, perché i componenti
extend your existing Windows
essere fissati, di essere stati migliorati. Il client data se ce l'abbiamo ancora, il mobile ce l'abbiamo ancora, quindi...
and easily interact with your existing Windows application. Connect your desktop VCL application to mobile apps.
Visto che si parlava un po' di tempo fa di come iniziare, questi video sono ancora tuttora validi, perché
For example, you can manage and update inventory of your warehouse database-powered VCL application that is tethered to a mobile companion app over Wi-Fi, or send and capture images from mobile companion apps to your desktop VCL or FireMonkey application.
Pensavo di mutare il microfono.
Introducing Delphi XC8, fastest connected app platform for Windows and beyond.
And welcome on to the webinar today. My name's Stephen Ball, and I'm going to be just kicking us off here as we find out what's new in Rad Studio 11.3.
La slide iniziale di vari filmati che non so bene cosa può essere.
We're just really excited to have you all here to introduce Rad Studio 12.
Non so quanto può essere significativo, però.
So today we are introducing Rad Studio 12.1 Athens.
Siamo già vicini ai giorni nostri.
We're very pleased to be introducing
Rad Studio 12.2 to you. All'ultima versione. So many heroes.
Olá pessoal, Anderson Gomes aqui, passando aqui.
Anderson è uno degli sviluppatori brasiliani. Allora, il Brasile, per dirla, è, come la dicono i gamer, tryhardano, che è una meraviglia, perché la libreria, la parte di schia che hanno sviluppato loro.
Quando eu tive acesso ao Delphi 5, aquela facilidade toda ali, me empolgou de uma tal forma que eu nunca mais larguei a ferramenta.
Infatti hanno vinto anche un anno il Delphi Spirit, un premio che si dà a chi collabora di più con, che spinge di più Delphi nell'ambito, con gli esempi, i corsi, tutto quello che fanno, sono in tanti effettivamente, ma sono anche estremamente bravi, quindi...
Conforme eu estava mencionando aí na época da faculdade, o meu pai mi deu un libro do Delphi 5.
Scusate se l'overlay sotto taglia un po', adesso vedo se riesco a toglierlo.
Em 2014 meu pai veio a óbito em decorrência de um câncer, e aquele ano de 2014 no ato do falecimento do meu pai eu acabei decidindo que eu não perderia mais as oportunidades de fazer algumas coisas que eu gostaria de ter feito até então, e
così si vede anche il testo sotto.
Uma mira minha ali de, poxa, podia ter ido e acabei não indo. Em 2014 eu decido vir para São Paulo.
E posso mostrare anche un messaggio che si vedono bene.
um amigo fala assim, manda uma palestra, cara, você tem um monte de coisa legal no seu site. E aí eu mandei uma palestra, essa palestra foi selecionada pela equipe de seleção e a gente acabou entrando, né? Então a minha primeira conference foi também a primeira conference que eu vim palestrar. E passado alguns dias eu fiquei sabendo que o Marco Cantu viria ao Brasil, então eu peguei ali a Bíblia do Delphi 5 e levei para o Marco assinar para mim. Foi assim um ato muito importante na minha trajetória, né, que consolidou aí um capítulo que eu costumo dizer que é um capítulo do meu pai com o Delphi, né? Então fico muito feliz de estar aqui hoje, mesmo depois de todos esses anos, com a mesma alegria, o mesmo entusiasmo de compartilhar conteúdo com vocês. E fica aí o meu agradecimento a todos vocês que passaram pelo meu site algum dia, que assistem os conteúdos lá no meu canal e que estão aqui com a gente, fazendo da nossa comunidade cada vez mais pulsante aí. Um grande abraço a todos, un ottimo.
Ok, questi sono i video messaggi registrati.
E che vengono.
Volevo farne uno anch'io, non ho avuto tempo, purtroppo avevo un'idea molto malsana per un
Happy anniversary, Delphi.
Per l'anniversario.
In '95, a couple of new magazines appeared.
Belli magazine
and
vecchi.
One of them stated that, welcome to the revolution. These magazines do not exist anymore, but Delphi is still there. As you can note in the back, it has changed
lo stesso libro che io ho al paio di Unisciti, questo
it's multi-platform,
francesco
great to
indicato.
work with, do it on a daily basis, and it is my favorite go-to tool. On a second note, for those that haven't paid attention, remember the old conference days? There's still a lot of conferences around Delphi these days. This is a CD from the Borcon conference in '95, but don't fear, you're still able to meet in the flesh. Let's have some fun at the newest Delphi conference, the Delphi Summit, and you might meet
questa
this
deve essere
guy
una conferenza molto interessante, però
in June.
diciamo che in
See you out there.
Amsterdam
Have fun for the next 30 years. Bye.
specialmente grazie, ok. E dai, come carrellata è carina, non ci sono molte cose, però ovviamente lo vediamo anche noi quando facciamo un po' le live, che ce ne sarebbero di cose di cui parlare. Ovviamente ha senso da questo punto di vista far vedere qualcosa. C'è anche balla. L'importante è parlarne, come dire. Stava lasciando finire la canzone.
Well, wasn't that great? I get a little bit emotional because, you know, I've been using Delphi myself for 30 years, and it's a big deal. And like you saw in the video, so many people that use Delphi are really, really enthusiastic about it and passionate about it. And so, the chat that we've got going on and all the rest of it is, you know, it's really good. So I have some guests. So let's try and get this so that we can get some other guests on. Guests, if you could turn on your cameras. I think, let's see who we've got. Oh, wow, there's a whole load of people. Okay. All right. Well, we'll start off with one of the people that was cited as being inspiration for Landerson, and that is Marco Cantu. Hello, Marco.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Sorry, my mic was off.
We always have to start something with going, oh, sorry, I was muted.
Cantu ha fatto uscire oggi un libro.
I did it.
Magari vi mando il link, ma se lo cercate sul suo blog, il blog di Marco Cantu, un libro di Delphi 5, però revisionato con delle annotazioni.
Oh yeah, I saw myself in the video, and was not even that. I mean, the video was not even that old.
Esatto, non era neanche così vecchio quel video, ma sembrava più giovincello.
As well. Let me see who else we got. Another colleague from Embarcadero, and that is Antonio.
Antonio.
Zapata. Hello, Antonio, who not only is he here,
lui è stato
but he's got
in
his brother in the chat as well.
Yes, he is. He's also a big Delphi fan. He's one of the reasons, actually, why I started learning Delphi.
Oh, look, he's got
what is
the
that?
Booth 702. Wow.
Yeah, it's the invitation to...
l'invito per andare alla conferenza di presentazione
the Software
di
Development
Delphi.
Conference had a big book. I mean, like conference today, if you get a flyer with a calendar, you're like, it's a lot. They had a big book, like probably 50 pages, like magazine size with all of the information. And this was holding it off. So it was like around it as the main thing at the conference. And then there was the invitation to attend the launch party. So the big booth, what was overly crowded, David can tell more because I was actually involved in it. But yeah, that booth like was overwhelmed by people because they were like showing the.
I never went to the booth. I actually sort of read about Delphi in a magazine, but it convinced me. I'm going to get some more people on as well. Another colleague. I'm going to start with the colleagues first, and then we'll go to our guests. I apologise for jumping over someone. He knows who he is, don't you? But the next person is my colleague who's a Brit as well, and that is Stephen Ball. Hello, Stephen.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Yeah, you featured in the video as well, and apparently I can get up to 10 guests, so we're going to try and see how this goes.
Secondo me 10 si scoppiano, se mette 10 spettatori
ci go and see how far we get. So
ci scoppia.
Another one who is no longer a colleague, but I'm going to put him on anyway, and that is another person who the minute you say his name, everybody knows who he is. He is everybody's favorite developer. He's kind of semi-retired, but he still can't resist doing lots of articles and blogs, and that is David I with his shirt on, of course.
This is a very special shirt. If you can hear me, I'll get closer to my.
Questa maglietta gliel'ho
It's
vista
a tie-dye
tante volte.
I only bring out on very special occasions.
Well, it's the 30th birthday. Yeah, look at that. That is awesome. I have a photograph somewhere of you.
C'era anche un giochino che era stato fatto con David I come personaggio.
Tie-dye shirts. It was hilarious. You look like you've all come back from a Grateful Dead concert.
Lui è un grande, sicuramente.
Yeah, I still wear tie-dye every day, and I program with Delphi most every day now as a semi-retired software engineer. So
semi-retired. I forget. I always say retired. No, semi-retired.
Okay. Cercate i video vecchi di Borland dove lui esce vestito da Indiana Jones oppure fa delle improvvisate, spara le magliette col cannone.
So joining us, yes, he is turning his camera on, and that is David Millington.
David Millington, che deve essere il product manager di C++ Builder, se non ricordo male.
Hi everyone, I'm great, thanks, and glad to see the original David here. You're looking fantastic.
Yeah, it's he's still going strong. He's making a fool of all of us by just going, yeah, I just code every day for fun, and it just like bangs out programs like nothing. You know, it's incredible.
David ha detto, io sono semi-ritirato, ma
I don't have any more at the moment,
tutti I giorni scrivo cose.
The last one is, I don't know how this is going to reorganize this script. He says up to 10, so I'm going to try to stretch the limits, and that is Richard Hatherall.
Questo non mi ricordo chi è.
Hello. Technically the only.
Comunque Vesicchio è un tema, visto che è la settimana di Sanremo.
Well, David I is kind of
X, yeah. But
X, yeah.
But, he's an X. I'm a.
Poi fanno starci in 10 che hanno una griglia da 9.
You contribute a lot, so I wouldn't.
I think
anybody would say. Literally, for the benefit of the guests. Marco and I have a regular meeting with Richard to discuss certain things. And we literally had a meeting 10 minutes before we went live on here. So, yeah, a lot happens behind the scenes.
I was surprised you didn't cancel it, to be fair. So, but anyway.
Perché David ha un letto singolo dietro, gli altri hanno un po' una,
right, well, look,
una stazione tecnologica, hanno qualcosa libri.
Call out because, you know, as we get older and as we get unfit, a couple of people, you know, actually in the last 12 months since we did this thing, Unfortunately, we had a couple of people pass away, and one of them passed away, a great colleague of all of the employees here, and that was our representative in Germany, Matthias. And it was extremely difficult for many of us. I'd literally been in a meeting with him the day before. He was very, very successful, a very hard-working guy, and he literally he actually died on February 14th.
Se non ricordo male, il creatore di FireMonkey, di
very
FireMonkey
shocking,
Linux.
Nobody thought this would happen, and he passed away. So, you know, from all of us, I think all of us have got very strong memories. I know when he passed away, I wrote, you know, my job is to kind of do some of these official blog articles, and lots of people commented on the impact
che è vero come collega sentirlo il giorno prima, poi dopo il giorno dopo vieni a sapere che non c'è più, fa un certo effetto da questo punto.
And if that was bad enough, I'm not going to bring everybody down. Unfortunately, you know, life is what it is. We had another very important colleague pass away as well in the last 12 months, and that was
questo è il padre di FireMonkey, scusa,
everybody who knew Eugene, as I said in the blog article, Eugene was effectively the father of FireMonkey and FMX. He invented GeoScene, FL Studio, and a few other things as well. Very, very talented developer. Extremely young as well to have passed away. It was a bit of a shock. You know, we'd already just had Matthias pass away, and then unfortunately Eugene went a few months later as well.
Penso parleranno anche di Pavel,
massively unexpected. He invented FMX Linux and all sorts of things.
Diciamo, rivisto un po' il libro.
It was hard to do.
Marco Cantù ha rivisto il libro Expert Delphi fatto da Pavel.
But that doesn't make it any easier for all of us. So just to mention those two
colleagues,
to make
formazione sviluppatori in Europa. Quindi...
So we're gonna have a chat about a few things. I have grabbed a couple of images. David I might have some answers to this because
spero che facciano vedere qualche filmato curioso del passato, perché ci sono alcune chicche.
Can you explain why the Delphi One install screen looks
Questa era la schermata di installazione di Delphi. Non mi ricordo quale versione, ma
what the thinking was behind that. Maybe some of the others do, but it was actually I always loved it. I thought it was
io la rimetterei anche oggi una cosa del genere.
You know, kind of graphic for the time. I know it's a bit pixelated.
Tra l'altro più andava avanti più il tachimetro si alzava, più secondo me è il primo perché si parla di dischetti, quindi
Well, if you go back to some of the early Turbo Pascal days, you'll see Porsche cars in the ad. There was
I never did see
there was the female police officer stopping the Porsche for going too fast, the turbo Porsche, and then there was Speed Is Delphi video. That was one of the Delphi 1 videos as well, with racing cars, and there were other racing car genre type things. So, you know, it goes back to the early days. And if you go back even before those ads, Anders Hausberg and his partner Preben Madsen that had the Compass Pascal and their own company in Denmark that then, you know, became a product inside of Borland. When they got a bunch of money by signing a deal with Borland, they both bought turbo Porsches. I forget which model, very high end, very expensive. And for a while, if I remember correctly, they kept them in Germany.
Si era ispirato al fatto che ovviamente Delphi era, ma è anche tutt'oggi sinonimo di velocità, e quindi quella era per rendere l'idea, però non c'era nessun programma che avesse un'installazione. Avevano tutti il fondale con gradiente blu.
What is it about Denmark that they produce so many good developers? Because
gradiente blu abbastanza uniforme,
Anders, I have to say, we did try to get Anders to be a little bit involved in this. It's up to him. I think Anders has moved on multiple times. You know, he's doing other things, but we did see if we could get him to join. We thought it was probably an outside chance. He did take part in the 25th anniversary, I think. Is that right?
And the 10th anniversary as well.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you know, it is what it is. But it's something about the Danish is that they just seem to produce good pastries and very good developers. I don't know whether the two are linked in any way.
Well, you know, if you track the lineage of
non ho capito, si parla della correlazione tra paste, dolci e sviluppatori. Non so di cosa stiamo parlando di preciso.
in Japan with Ruby on Rails, with Ruby and Matsumoto-san and so on. So there's lots. Guido van Rossum, that's what's that, Netherlands, I guess, there for Python, and so on. So maybe it has to do with all of Scandinavia, because there was lots of great computer scientists in Norway and so on as well in the early days. And maybe it's because it's just so dark during the wintertime. There's nothing else to do. I'm not sure. Unless they all go down to Spain.
Asse alte.
They always said the Brits were like that because the weather was always so awful. Nobody ever wanted to go outside. As Stefan points out, Stefan, who appeared in two sections of the video, because he's a very what's the word I'm looking for? He's a very understated guy, Stefan. Because apart from the fact I always accidentally misspell his name with an A, but he does a lot more. He's crinkling stuff. Richard, is that you?
Ci sente qualcuno che digita?
I can hear crinkling of bottle tops, but he looked like a naughty schoolboy then. It was quite hilarious. But yes,
maybe the bitmap had to do with this whole skeuomorphic, make something look like a human, accessible thing, and as opposed to being some obscure part.
There were lots of
guardando anche
the original Apple.
Il tapirulano dietro a...
Yeah, I mean, as Stefan said, it's good developers but high taxes. Yeah, and as he says, Björn Strustrup as well is the other guy I mentioned as well. It is something about the Nordics. They're just pretty crazy. True, 180% taxation back then, says Jens. Really? 180% tax? No wonder they all wanted to go to America. Wow!
Come si fa avere 180%
I
di
lived over
tasse?
there for a year or so, and it was crazy.
Cioè, più guadagni, più
I'm doing a conference in April. I've been before. I like Denmark. I've been to Copenhagen. I'll tell you something interesting about Denmark, actually, in general. Copenhagen Hospital has a system installed there. I wrote it. It's entirely in Delphi, and it's the first time I found a language that had commas in the dates where you would not expect them to be. They're just trying. Have you ever understood the Danish numbering system? No wonder they're so clever. It's like 5 20s and 6 4s, and it's like, what's that then? It's like, that's how does that work? I'm not surprised, but a very interesting country. And in there, Copenhagen University has an old Cray computer, and you can put your head inside the Cray computer. So it's
yeah, I think I've been there and had a look at that. We actually have we've got a load of customers that we've been to visit in Denmark, and I think one of them actually does a whole load of work with the 911, like the emergency services, all the vehicles, and managing all the cars and the interactions between those. And yeah, some really amazing stuff being done over there.
Yeah, I actually used to work for Dictaphone years ago, and that they did the 911
Ci voleva un po' più di memorabilia.
And actually, part of that was
un po' più di ricordi del passato,
graphic soundboards, and that was written in Delphi as well because I wrote it. So it's I've had a weird career. I've done all sorts of odd things. Okay, so let's just, because we've got a few questions or more comments and more than anything else. We've got people from Peru and everybody saying they wish they were 30 years old again.
Comunque ci sono veramente un sacco di sviluppatori attorno in giro per il mondo.
Antonio here is probably the youngest by a good margin, but David's not that old.
I think David and I were both roughly the same age.
Really?
I don't want to say my age. I will never say my age, but I think we're roughly the same age.
Right. Okay.
I don't say either. I will admit I'm older than Delphi, though. Quite a bit more than I want to admit.
Well, Richard's also the other youngster amongst us. Stephen, I think, as well. So actually, when I think about it, in some ways, it's probably the older people, the odd ones out here. So that's a good thing. I mean, go to Brazil and you feel like something's very wrong with the world because they're all so young and dynamic and all the rest of it. So it's great. Let me pull up something to provoke a question. I mean, just to remind everybody, this is what the IDE used to look like when Delphi 1 first came out. And
Delphi 1.
I know to many people who are watching this, they're probably thinking, wow, that's super old-fashioned. But actually, for the era, it was pretty good. And I also
era abbastanza funzionale.
not this, sorry, hang on.
C'è gente che pensa che sia ancora così, è quello il problema.
Oh, see, no, they've got these tiny little previews. Let me just see if I've got the right one. Hold on. Yeah, this is from the Delphi User's Guide. And just to emphasize how far things have changed in the world, you'll see there that it says to install Delphi, start Windows.
Per installare Delphi via Windows se non sta già girando.
And of course that was the era we lived in. Windows was actually just an app on DOS.
Ah, è vero, perché comunque Delphi Windows 3.11 andava lanciato a parte.
Quindi... that I spotted in one of the early documentation that I think for Delphi 1 there was an option to send support question by fax machine.
Ah, proprio Windows 3.1.
Right. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, it was modern at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, as David I say, he's got his new fax machine.
Più che stile, è proprio lui.
I always find there's a couple of industries that still use fax machines, and I don't know how they get parts for it if it goes wrong, because does anybody sell fax machines now? But I thought they were all electronic, you know.
I used to work in the shipping industry that relied, I don't know for sure now, for a long time they relied a lot on
un sistema come Windows 3.11 tu hai un ambiente dove drag and drop e scrivi in un linguaggio tra l'altro veramente molto semplice.
And I did so much code
studiavi a scuola, quindi
of course.
Facevi un run e facevi una build e facevi l'exit direttamente.
If I had a museum, because they started out as
non avevi cose particolari lente,
and they had the old wax cylinder
che tenessero un sacco di RAM e il programma partiva,
because they literally changed names over the years, but it was exactly the same. You know, they
were
struggling against technology changing. They had one guy whose only job it was to write to people when they saw a movie and someone said, I'm going to use my dictaphone to record something, you know, like a voice recorder. And they would write to them and say, I want to remind you, it's a registered trademark and there are other voice recorders available. However, you know, it's weird world that we live in. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we've had other installers.
Delphi 7
trying to pry Delphi 7 out of the hands of some developers.
Una versione da cui molti non si stanno staccando neanche oggi.
You know, some versions of Delphi, they stick around forever and you just can't get, you know, people are like,
però mantengono ancora applicazioni che girano su sistemi Windows attuali, quindi
Delphi 4.
Con alcuni escamotage, perché ovviamente le API sono cambiate un pochino, ma
that is one of our biggest you know,
non è una cosa banale
issues really is that Delphi programs we're very good at that backward compatibility.
Di 20 anni fa con un editor di 20 anni fa,
so rock solid that they just don't crash. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking. He's barking away in the background there, but you know, they're rock solid. They keep going. Never stop.
Barking, Ian Barker. Adesso gliela scrivo la battuta.
Well, why should I upgrade if they're only very blinkered and very narrow? You know, you can't use the BDE anymore on Windows. Come on, move on. It's
well, with virtual machines, you can have all the versions of Delphi readily at hand. And there are some very old systems. It's embarrassing sometimes to hear about some old U.S. military systems that have 8-inch floppy disk software loading of data and so on. But you know, that kind of thing happens.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? There's also the machines that are doing that quite often, like guidance systems or something. You think they really should be. I suppose if it isn't broken, then why change? You know, it's just one of those things. But
we do have some customers who actually need to be able to run old systems. I know one of our customers does a whole load of stuff for the railway networks.
Devo fare il
they have a whole load of SIL testing that have to go through to get things authorized.
Ian Barker, dog barking.
And it even gets down to the point of specific types of hardware
Adesso
running,
mi bannano,
because
così
then you know
finiamo
the
la
program
live
running
in
on
un
that hardware
secondo.
behaves in that way. We actually had a few years ago, one customer had to order a stack load of Pentium motherboards and had a shipping container just to put all these motherboards in, because they needed to update
Sto
some
scrivendo in chat, siccome mi
ground
dovevano
training.
fare
It took
compagnia
that
un
much
po'
to
di
update,
persone
it's
che
crazy. But
su
I
cui mi
just noticed as
vendicherò
well,
perché
I
mi
have to
hanno...
say, in the background of Richard Hatherall there, I noticed that he has got quite a lot of different versions of Delphi, but do you hoard them or something? I mean, I expect it from Marco, because Marco has got the whole...
Doveva essere qui con un po' di persone che mi hanno tirato bucca,
Delphi
quindi
1 and 5.
gli stavo scrivendo sotto che, visto che non si
And
fanno
the reason
vedere,
that
le
box
squillo e lo champagne è tutto per me, quindi...
entire dev team.
Ma me mi vendicherò di te in qualche
It was a
modo.
special present for the Spirit of Delphi Award. I don't know, it's hard to see, but you see there it's signed by a bunch of people.
Well, don't let people know that, otherwise they'll be asking for it in the future.
Yeah, you know, here. So all of the people in the
firma.
team who end up signing the box.
So Richard,
firmato la box che è un premio per Delphi Spirit.
Have I got a signed box?
Che Cantù ha vinto,
No,
penso.
I don't.
You cannot compete with that, Richard.
I can't do that. I actually
L'anno
haven't.
scorso il vincitore del Delphi Spirit era
sealed
parte
Delphi
che
Spirit.
streama anche qua su YouTube in francese.
I bought it because I was going to.
Fatico un po' a seguirlo perché ovviamente per problemi di lingua, ma è viceversa.
This one is a big crack, but it has all of
fondamentalmente su Delphi siamo io e lui e
by the time
anche i brasiliani, ma i brasiliani fanno...
Delphi 4 was out, so I never had to open.
Ma erano grosse quelle scatole, perché dentro c'erano... Ecco, qua c'è la gara chi ce l'ha più grossa la scatola. Perché dentro veniva fornito con tutti i manuali, quindi...
Printed in print, like thousands of APIs, like all in print.
Kylix, non so se qualcuno l'ha usato, era Delphi per Linux, funzionante in Linux, quindi un progetto che secondo me era eccezionale, ma troppo avanti per i suoi tempi.
David I couldn't help myself, but there you go, David. That's the
lo sviluppo Delphi, cioè lo sviluppo su Linux a livello desktop era molto raro, quindi e se si faceva c'erano già i loro strumenti. Il pinguino di Kylix
on the London Kylix launch event. So
I think I went to that.
Adesso comunque su Delphi c'è il compilatore Linux come per Mac, come per Android, quindi non abbiamo bisogno, diciamo, di Kylix perché utilizziamo comunque Delphi su Windows per tutto, anche diciamo, per le applicazioni client visuali grazie a FMX per Linux.
It is both, you know, it's and you know, you get the choice of doing things in different ways. I personally still think C++ is a very hard thing to do, but it's also, it's like it's like the difference between being a watchmaker and buying a cheap digital watch. If you want it to work and you don't want to pay a lot of money and you want it quickly, but it's going to break and it's going to be a bit, you know, it's not as accurate, then Delphi could be the metaphor there versus C++, which is the watchmaker's, you know, preciseness. Oh, I have to have a pointer and it's got to be exactly this. However, it's a very imperfect metaphor because they're both very solid systems. And personally, I never ever found a problem with Delphi. So, you know, what can I say? But
I was going to strongly disagree there. I think they're both very capable.
Stavo leggendo il messaggio, mi sono perso il discorso, però
you know, the people that you want to use C++ use it for some very specific reasons, and that is about preciseness, accuracy, controllability. It's the Swiss Army knife of languages, but also it's the surgeon's knife of languages.
Ciao Cristian.
Delphi is
vuoi venire in live a commentare?
That respect. But anyway, am I digging myself out of the hole, or am I still? There you go.
That's where you're allowed.
Ti passo il link.
Moving on. So, my name's Ian, and I'm the ex-head of Developer Advocate.
You know, the software engineer in me has to always try to achieve preciseness. So I was very careful in my blog today to talk about celebrating the anniversary of the launch of Delphi 1.
Meglio tardi che mai. Se vuoi entrare col link che ti ho mandato,
Wizen, the head
tanto
of
qua
the
stanno
team,
chiacchierando più del
reminded
meno.
us all that they finished Delphi 1 and then drove up to San Francisco and got ready for the launch, and Anders demonstrated it to standing ovation, and then they had to go back to the office, and because they had a stop ship bug and they had to update Delphi, and so the date.
Non so se hai seguito fino ad ora, ho fatto vedere qualche case study.
Manufacturing is actually tomorrow, February 15th, 1995.
Volevo vedere se qualcuno...
So, you know, but it's okay to say, okay, Delphi was released, but it turns out it was launched.
But we paused. Yes, exactly.
And we used to, in the early days of Borland, we would have a launch party, but we'd also, a bunch of us would go over to the warehouse to help package and shrink wrap the products to help the operations people, because there's always such a demand, and that goes back to the early days of and so we used to sit there and stack
Adesso stanno facendo un po' di remember di memorie.
To go through the shrink wrap.
Però dai, anche il fatto che c'è Antonio
Zapata, thing, and you know, and
anche David Millington, cioè comunque sono persone relativamente giovani e sono già sul pezzo. Antonio ha scritto un
even Philippe Kahn would answer questions because of the load of
su nuovi su web stencil, tecnologia che hanno messo, nuova libreria per fare applicazioni web che hanno messo nell'ultima versione di Delphi.
People didn't believe that Philippe was actually on the phone talking to them, so
no, a parte David Dye nell'immagine che comunque è una pietra miliare. Le altre persone sono non sono così attempate, ecco, sono più attempato io quasi.
You know, it's funny because I worked at a software house around about that time as well, and I remember we also had disk duplicating equipment. You know, it was like a caddy thing, and every time you issued some software, you had to churn out all these disks. And I would say, maybe one day, just for
queste chiacchiere mi piacciono, ma sarebbe meglio se commentassero velocemente cose
3.5-inch floppy disk. However, the only problem is I don't think there's enough 3.5-inch floppy disk made in the world still for us to do that, because it would probably be several hundred or more. So I mean, how big's the installer now?
You could probably get the Bootstrap installer on it to then load the rest from the web, you know.
Well, no, that won't be good. No, you need to have the ISO split out.
La persona...
Can you imagine? And one disk goes, it's always like disk 7 or disk 12 stops, and it goes, and you're like...
Delphi 1 si vede nel saluto hai
5.25,
really?
3.5.
Partecipa a conferenze, fa librerie di controlli fatte benissimo.
Because we used to ship a product
Guardo, ma non sento.
In
cioè non
Visual
senti
Basic,
me?
actually, I think. And that shipped on at least 10 or 12
che non si sente oppure sei tu che non
hai? I'm glad those days are
gone. Vabbè che se non mi senti...
Once the internet came out, I went to a demonstration once where they demonstrated DSL, as it was. And before, you know, it was still dial-up internet at the point. And it was British Telecom demonstrating DSL. And we thought they were lying because they had this, you know, download on a dial-up thing, and then they showed DSL, and it could download at a huge speed of 128
fateci vedere qualcosa, fateci vedere del proibito.
You know, nowadays we'd all be thinking our internet's
qualcosa del passato, qualcosina
and yet the thing that I find very frustrating is you still get these people that go, "Oh, Delphi's still around."
Questo è un problema abbastanza noto.
I mean, it's very
ancora Delphi esiste ancora, questo è.
In some way, you know, Delphi passed away.
Ho frequentato dei meetup ultimamente differenziati in ognuno, comunque mi dicevano la stessa cosa.
But we are currently number 9 in TOBE, as I said before, and things are doing that. It's a gradual climb. We're working hard to make it happen, but not only is it around, but as I showed in the video, there are some very capable apps out there that people go, I didn't know they were Delphi users. Yes, they are. And that's our big problem, is that we're very good at the programs that you produce just work. They don't need, oh my God, I've upgraded Windows from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So what? The app goes, I don't care, I'll just carry on working. And people don't appreciate that is actually a significant advantage when you're rolling out to a corporate environment, or even just to end users. If you've got 10,000 end users and a Windows update suddenly means that your app doesn't work, and that's not the case with Delphi. It works. I mean, if you use runtime packages, then well, you're asking for trouble. But when it's built in, it's fine. So I wanted to point out, Ray is in the questions. He's watching on YouTube. Hello, Ray. We'll say hi to Ray, a very well-known face. Ray, I'm sorry I didn't get you on. I just assumed you'd be super busy, so I didn't send you an invite. But Ray is always is probably one of the figures. Him and Dr. Bob is another guy. I think most of us recognize those names from the past. But
è un altro sviluppatore di lunga data che ha un sito
last year in Amsterdam,
con corsi, con materiale, articoli, un sacco di roba.
Engaged guy, despite also working a very demanding job as well, and he's a big Delphi fan.
Spero che non veda il mio messaggio.
Call out from me personally to say, well done, Ray. I think a lot of us have seen the demos he's done and the talks he's done about components and styles and things like that, and he taught me things. I mean, David, Marco, and the others have all taught me things as well. But Ray's definitely one of those people that he's worth pointing. He's another guy. He's very understated. He just does stuff and gets on with it and goes again. It's not like me, a big drama queen and running around and making noise.
Sì, ma voglio vedere un po' di cosine del passato, cose che fanno.
What have we got? David Cornelius.
David Cornelius ha scritto un libro molto bellino su Delphi a 360 gradi.
I mean, that was the thing.
Parlava di Bluetooth, di sviluppo web, di app tethering, di un sacco di roba.
What was the first version you used? I don't think David counts because
TurboVision è la libreria per fare applicazioni a finestre nel DOS, quindi parliamo di
So Marco, what was the first version?
Più di 30 anni fa, di 40 anni fa forse.
In terms of
era Object Windows Library, qualcosa del genere.
But in terms of Delphi, I think
che era la prima incarnazione di libreria per fare applicazioni a finestre, però per Windows.
I know exactly the first time I saw it. That was exactly 1 year before. I mean, exactly not the day, but 1 year before at the same conference, Software Development. I had a meeting with Michael Hyman, that was the C++ product manager, and because I was actively working on OWL, the big, actually very nice class library for UIs that Borland had at the time.
Feliz anniversario.
So we had a long chat because I was telling him, it's great.
Sicuramente è brasiliano anche questo, anche se il nome non mi dice, non è uno che conosco.
You have all of the class, all of the code, but it's difficult
ragazzi,
for people
c'è una
caterva
di brasiliani.
Yeah, let me show you something. And there was actually
in Brasile,
also in the room, and he showed me this, and I was like, oh, I was blown away. And that was about a year before
Rodrigo Raz fa molte librerie. Al momento non mi vengono in mente quali, ma so che il nome è
I think around June, where they
Delphi 1, Turbo C++ 1.0, ma non
to the public. I mean, there were
Turbo Pascal l'ho fatto anch'io a scuola, però non mica ci sviluppavo, quindi
you're pretty covered by the NDA.
I started working on it, and then I worked
Mr. K.
I basically decided, hey, I quit
stiamo guardando un webinar su 30 anni di Delphi e facendo battute.
Yeah, and a few months after Delphi shipped, I had a book.
Qui c'è un momento di nostalgico.
1,500 pages.
Sta rimangando il passato.
I mean, insane. I mean, you can't write a book that big.
Visuino, se lo cercate.
Well,
scritto così, è un editor visuale fatto in Delphi.
Yeah, and I mean,
per fare applicazioni per Arduino. È molto carino perché ogni componente compatibile con Arduino è un blocchetto che potete mettere e connettere ad altre. Potete tirare proprio i fili, potete connettere le cose, scrivere il codice. Molto interessante.
To be fair, I hadn't seen these books before, but I've looked at them. They're pretty good.
Molto carino.
They're about recent versions as well. There are quite a lot.
Ma vai l'alternativa al classico editor per Arduino con solo codice.
Boyan, who actually comes to every single webinar we do, Boyan Maitov. He's got those great components that do
Boyan Mitov
and he says
è un Mitov.
A strange coincidence. He started creating Visuino, which is an IDE for the IoT stuff.
Letteralmente è un Mitov di nome di fatto.
He created Visuino 10 years ago on the same day, and as he said,
partecipa a molte conferenze, fa un sacco ai webinar.
So it might
ogni
not,
post che vede ci mette il like, condivide, fa molto supporto anche attorno al mondo. Ha fatto delle librerie veramente interessanti, delle librerie per elaborazioni audio e video.
Boyan, great friend of the language, and I like Boyan as well. He's an MVP in tech partner, so I called him out. So Antonio, what was the first one you used? I mean, you probably. I'm not going to insult you, but I suspect you were probably too young to use Delphi 1.
Yes. I mean,
yes, I thought so.
Antonio è un po' giovane per usare Delphi 1.
Quite boring in comparison. So for me it was Delphi 7, which is a bit of a cliche, really, but it was my first version. And
I'm surprised you're not still using it, because it really bugs me how many people go, oh yeah, I still use it for some project.
That's the thing with this community. I think it's one of the very few communities that people actually brag about using a very old version of something, because you wouldn't hear anyone say, yeah, I still make websites with Dreamweaver or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But I know people that do.
Yeah.
Gente che usa una versione vecchia dell'editor è come dire faccio i siti con Dreamweaver o con front page, cioè una roba. Però molti stanno ancora usando il F7 che ha 20 anni, quindi era molto stabile. Per le esigenze è sufficiente, basta e non si muovono, però si perdono, diciamo, il bello di tutte le versioni più nuove.
I mean, the magazine article I read said that, and I thought, well, it sounds like it, but I was a VB guy at the time, and I was good at it. I answered a lot of questions on the forum. If you Google the old Google groups, you'll see me on Usenet being described as a VB guru, a Visual Basic guru, which is hilarious when you think about it. And back in the day, and I'm talking like the very early versions of Visual Basic. 3 was probably the first one that was any good, in my opinion. But as soon as I saw Delphi, I went, that's all the things that Visual Basic isn't. You know, in a good way.
Questa è stata anche la mia esperienza.
David Millington.
Usavo Visual Basic 6, quando ho visto Delphi ho detto, cavolo, tutto quello che mi mancava di là e che cercavo spasmodicamente, programmazione oggetti pura, i thread, tutte queste cose, ci sono, diranno ci sono molto facili da utilizzare, cioè Delphi direi molto facile. Ereditarietà anche visuale, cioè accesso ai dati, una roba che quando l'ho visto ho detto, ma cazzo ho usato fino all'altro ieri, cioè questo è molto meglio, da lì uso abitualmente anche tool Microsoft perché diciamo .NET è un ottimo prodotto, però cioè, come Delphi dal punto di vista
practice and techniques of developing as well. So we had to build teams and develop real software for real companies. Had like a trade show fair, and they picked us and we built stuff for them. I ended up writing kernel driver to do filtering, network filtering, and my colleagues in there were using Delphi 7 to build the UI for it.
Questo è vero, cioè, molte aziende hanno acquistato, cioè utilizzano Delphi, fanno software per le proprie esigenze interne, quindi non sviluppano software per vendere software, ma per creare e mantenere delle software che usano internamente per il proprio flusso di lavoro. Questo è un po' l'obiettivo. Per cui non aggiornano, non sono interessati a
we are trying to
a fare
push
nulla
very
tranne
hard to
mantenere
get
questo software che
universities
gira
and colleges
all'interno,
to
quindi il
adopt
codice
Delphi.
magari
It's
non
an
è...
uphill struggle. The problem is IBM kind of died away and focuses on some random deep thought nonsense now. They're trying to create, you know, the deep thought computer from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm sure that's what they're doing. But it used to be nobody got fired for buying IBM, and now it's nobody gets fired for buying Microsoft. It's just the choice that, you know, safe pair of hands choice. And that's kind of woolly thinking, really, that is difficult for us to fight against, because, you know, they're very successful as a name. And sometimes, actually, unfortunately, I don't want to sound bitter and twisted, but they're not always the best tool for the job. We are, you know, and it's true. You know, why would you write a Java program, you know, a visual, not visual, Swift program and all these other things, when you can just go in a FireMonkey, go click, click, click. I've done it in so many webinars. Here's an app that works on both systems, and I just think it's just, if you do it any other way,
dicendo,
it's the hard way. But
non è obbligatorio, devo fare un'app per iOS, usare Swift,
Richard,
sei obbligato a usare i tool, gli strumenti che ti mette a disposizione chi gestisce la piattaforma.
Experience, because I think David's is going to be a unique one for most.
Come se uno fosse costretto o pensasse che a fare le migliori macchine sono quelli che costruiscono le strade, ovviamente non ha molto senso.
A light bulb moment, or did you
senza
get
nulla
forced
togliere,
to use
però
it in college?
non sono le uniche alternative.
School or wherever, where you were at the time.
The thing was, so I'd just been at college doing, you know, IT or whatever, and I went for some summer experience with a company, and they actually invited. They said, if you've got no plans after the summer, do you want to, you know, if you're not planning to, you know, you don't really like the education thing, maybe you don't want to go into university, come and we'll train you, you know, we think you've got something. So I was like, yeah, that's great. I'd just learned Visual Basic at college, and I was all about, let's get Visual Basic. And when I showed up, they then said,
chiaramente chi ha più soldo, lo soldo finanzia, e quindi è normale che poi a scuola si insegni il linguaggio che propone chi, poi ci mette i soldi per le varie attività.
And I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this.
Chiaramente le risorse a Microsoft direi che non mancano.
And after 6 months, I was so glad I did. It was one of those fork in the road. If I chose like to not do that and go and find a job in VB, I doubt I would have had as much fun. You know, and I didn't know that until after the fact. You know,
when I was working in Visual Basic, it did some very cool things. There was a thing called Send Keys, and I worked
Send Keys, la usavo anch'io la Send Keys per inviare delle combinazioni di tasti all'applicazione e fargli fare
graphic design package.
Una roba un po'.
Pressworks was the program, and the wizards were written in Visual Basic, and they wanted to stop shipping that because it added a lot to the downloads that had just started, and so I did a demo that did it in Delphi, and it was tiny, you know, in comparison, because at that time it still wasn't common for Windows to have the Visual Basic runtime on a PC. Of course, the reason that .NET works is because every PC has had .NET dumped onto it. And so, yes, your executables can be smaller because they're basically almost like P code. You know,
the answer to the version question is technically I learned on Delphi 1. The consultants who came in to do the training, who also they said to us, look, Delphi 2's out in like a couple of months. If you sign an order now this was definitely dodge, but they were like, if you sign an order now for Delphi 2, we'll just skip past that. We'll install Delphi 1 now on some machines so you can learn it, and we won't mention it. So
this sounds a bit shady. I don't know whether we want to talk about that.
It was very shady,
sono
it
perso
was one of
l'inizio.
those things where I got to, you know, I only actually ever did real work in Delphi.
Si parla un po' I tempi che furono delle prime
but it was like they were just
battaglie commerciali. Ecco, sulla questione dei prezzi dovrebbero un attimo.
Kevin Bond's comment there. Kevin appears regularly at some of our code camps and things like that. He's great educator. Yeah, David I's giving him a thumbs up. So am I. Love Kevin, based in the UK, really smart guy, and he is in the educational sector. So I'm going to take what he says at face value. I'm not. We're not here to knock Microsoft. They're a great company. We actually do interact with them on many levels, and business is business. Competition, but he says Microsoft fund a lot of university research, so they get to influence what programming language are taught. I don't know if that's true, but that's fair enough. I mean, if they're going to fund, then maybe that's fine. But don't teach them to use.
Kevin is also. Kevin is also a fellow member of the UK Dev Group, which obviously I'm honour bound to mention.
I featured them in the video, and the little QR code that was in the video. Someone scanned that because it tells me when it's and someone scanned it. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know they worked.
Ok, adesso arriveranno una marea di notifiche di gente che scansiona il QR code.
Probably, Stephen, what are your kind of reminiscences of your Delphi journey, shall we say?
Oh, blimey. So, I originally did some Pascal programming when I was at college. And although I wasn't doing computer studies at the time, I used to help out the computer studies students quite a lot because I was in the labs typing up a lot of homework and bits. And then when I kind of graduated, I was working for a leisure management software company. And
Skype originariamente
era for the program.
Sviluppato in
Delphi, Windows at the time. And I was like, hold on, I know all this stuff. And you're getting paid 3 times what I'm getting paid. I think I'm going to be changing what I'm doing here. And so Delphi 3, and then we did that for probably about 6 months.
Adesso non ho un'idea a livello di core come si è fatto il cross-platform, WinRT, non so che codice.
But they didn't want to move straight onto the latest.
Anche se molto meno usato.
And we're stuck on there for a very long time. But then
io mi ricordo
moved up to have Delphi 7 running alongside it.
Avevo ICQ che è chiuso, che non è, forse l'anno scorso è chiuso. Mi ricordo se è già passato un anno intero ICQ.
When things migrated further, we had
fondamentalmente era quasi
a number of changes with .NET around how it's handling SOAP.
Mamma mia, ICQ,
we ended up having code that was shared between Delphi 2010 and Delphi 5, if you can imagine it.
Poi ho usato il Messenger, MSN, e poi è arrivato Skype chiaramente
for the same product.
Più.
And yes, it was as bad as it sounds. And they had inheritance between forms and things like that used in different versions of Delphi. I'd say it was not a good experience, but it's
amazing the flexibility of the language and the framework, which allows you to be able to kind of do some of those things and to work around. And we'd never kind of hit a barrier trying to connect to anything. I think at one point I had just the standard software writing. Was processing millions of pounds worth of back payments every month. It was connected to card printers, cash machines.
Ok, poi dopo andremo a vedere qualche link.
You name it. It was
qualche link di questi per capire.
We never hit a problem being able to connect to anything.
Airport. I mean that does kind of go back to. And by the way, I'm putting out David I's blog there. Go to blog.davidI.com and you'll see his latest post there, and he's also posted on blogs.embarcadero.com. It actually, you mentioned about programs written in Delphi. The good version of Skype,
esatto, la versione buona di Skype era sviluppata.
Was written in Delphi, and I mean, I'm sure that they've probably still got some little bits of them there that go, I wish it was still in Delphi because it's got a few bugs. I'm sure there could have been bugs in the Delphi version later if they carried on with it. I'm not going to say that wouldn't be possible, but yeah, I think we all just fondly remember the days when Skype was rock solid. You used to have a tiny little phone, and it was a Skype phone, and that was its main purpose. It was going from there. Marco's going to have to go in a bit. I will come to David I in a second because I suspect that we've got some. All of us want to hear a few things, and same with David Millington as well. But Marco, are there any final words from you? Is there anything that you would say given, and Stephen says he's also going to have to go as well, so that's probably a good thing. No, I'm joking. But Marco, is there anything that you want to kind of say before you depart?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a fantastic journey for 30 years, and it's going to continue. So it's not solely the end of the journey.
È scritto in Delphi 7.
Of course.
Quindi parliamo di un bel po' di tempo fa.
It's been a lot for me, and it's been a lot for many of the people I see online and chatting and asking. The product is actively being worked on, with great news coming up very soon, so stay tuned for announcement and things.
È già stato pianificato il webinar del lancio Amazon, in questo caso.
The Delphi 1 IDE was a 16-bit.
Ora Amiram ha ricevuto offerte per entrare nel Delphi Skype Team.
32-bit IDE, and we
fantastico quante applicazioni sono state sviluppate in Delphi. E di tipo diverso.
So again,
David is putting his hands up going,
oh sure. We don't know, but
I know nothing. Who knows? No idea what Mark is talking about.
This does come up occasionally, and I'm going to just call it out just before we carry on, because I know Stephen's going. David, are you going soon, or are you staying around? Or David Remington, you're staying, are you, for now?
I can stick around for a bit for sure.
Yeah, okay, all right. So Stephen Ball and Marco will probably go in a moment. But I just want to call out one particular thing, because this does come up every now and again, and that is about roadmaps. People always say, "Oh, there used to be roadmaps, and so does a roadmap."
Roadmaps. Roadmap
all of us here, I think we can say this without being in trouble. We would like to be able to publish roadmaps. It would, in some ways, I think. On some level, I think a roadmap's nice. It gives people a kind of sense of well-being, that they think that they know what's going to happen, because you put it in a roadmap. The reality is that roadmaps don't always work like that unless you're very non-specific about features. But actually, our parent company Idera are based in many different markets around the world, and they have investors, and they have shareholders and people like that, and lots of regulations around the world. And I've mentioned this before. They cannot make certain types of forward-looking statement. They can't make blasé, the next version's gonna be, entirely in French, and it'll program for you because you'll plug a thing in your head or something. They can make any statement like, but the thing is,
è tempo che non c'è una roadmap, però è un tipo di prodotto su cui non è sempre facile fare una roadmap, perché non è un prodotto da lanciare. Cioè, se tu sviluppi ovviamente la tua versione sviluppi l'iPhone,
writing, you said it was going to happen, and now we want it to happen, otherwise we're going to sue you. So I get that. That's Idera's kind of, as a policy, we don't do roadmaps, and and I know that
quindi non avendo prodotti da lanciare,
but me personally, I would like some roadmaps. I know some of us would do it. It'd make our lives as
.NET 9, cose di questo tipo,
a lot easier to go.
Una roadmap,
here's a roadmap, and then we wouldn't get asked questions again. But
non so se poi la
that's
pubblicheranno.
just the way Idea is, and that's they've got their own good reasons.
Forse stavo parlando di questo.
Roadmaps not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, but stay on the product, stay on subscription. Yeah. You can get betas, you can get ideas of what's happening.
La risposta standard, come sempre. La subscription aggiorna, e quindi.
I was going to say, I think it's great that we have the subscription model now. When you get an update subscription and move things forward.
Calcola la subscription non ti pone un problema, perché hai
robust
praticamente un costo
Delphi
fisso
is,
annuo,
or Studio is, at just keeping working.
Installi
a big part of that is actually helped by the consistency of the Windows API. It's been around for a long time.
Ottimo.
Because that is a big part of what helps.
Skype originale era
forward. And that's a very different thing to how things work on the mobile. Having the update subscription means we can keep getting the updates to the APIs as they shift out to customers and moving forward, because
effettivamente quando uscì era uno spreco, perché comunque considerate anche le chiamate.
I know a couple of times we were kind of behind the times, but the last time, 12.2, we were ahead of the curve with Android, I think, when there was a requirement. And I, you know, people sometimes don't spot the good things because they're too busy complaining about something that, you know, they feel like we've wronged them. I get it. I make a point of
questo è un po' comune degli sviluppatori Delphi, lamentarsi talmente tanto che non si
We're not a black box.
Che non si prendono mai in considerazione anche le cose buone, in alcuni casi le critiche ci stanno, ma
you know, contact us and tell us what you're happy with, but tell us what you are happy with as well. Just in case we've got a little plan to change something, you go, oh no, don't change that. It happens, yeah. All right, Stephen, you're going to go, aren't you? But I want to thank you for joining. You know, you did turn up a few of these. And,
spesso ci si allarma quando dicono faremo cambiamenti sulla tecnologia X e poi dopo uno dice adesso non funzionerà più nulla.
Gets involved in a lot of things, and him and I talk very regularly.
Yeah, I might not be quite as much out there putting my face around as I actually used to, but I'm kind of pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes now for a lot of the teams. So
nobody can shut me out. That's really
before I do,
just one thing I'd like to kind of
live.
I was mentioning about the subscription stuff being
io non è che abbia problemi, non devo
I think
scappare, ma
one of the things that we've heard a lot of really good feedback from is how that's helping us
ho scritto un
bring new
Android
features and new capabilities within the releases rather than having to make major version changes, and how that's helping developers get the latest stuff, but also new stuff without breaking
anche
lato
server
components that they're working on, benefiting from all that stuff coming through.
Come dire, non è male da un certo punto di vista, perché comunque hai un ambiente deterministico, non hai il garbage collector, hai comunque il pieno controllo su quello che fa, il massimo anche delle performance da un certo punto di vista.
Somebody told me when I started writing with Delphi 20 odd years ago that, well, it's more than that now, isn't it? Yeah. That I'd be producing apps that go in the app stores and everything else like that.
Tutti gli ambiti, le particolarità, le cose
cosine
da sistemare.
Got to the top of the iOS and Android App Store for paid.
Quelle cosine da sistemare, però fondamentalmente quelle le trovi in qualunque linguaggio, perché tutti i demo te li fanno sempre con gli scenari più facili.
I think I paid for it, so I think about it. But
one set of tires for my son at least, anyway. So
there you go. Yeah, it's good. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You know, it's good to have you on. All right. And we'll carry on. And now, I did say I'd give David
stanno morendo uno per uno.
You know, we don't often have that. David I was there. You were there at Christmas time, or at the what do we call it? The seasonal event. But I mean, you were there really, I think, at kind of formative time. Really, you must remember pretty much seeing people coding Delphi 1. I mean, is that right?
La domanda è se hai visto gente che faceva codice con Delphi 1.
No, I should say, I started learning Pascal in 1972. University, wrote my first programs using an ASR 33 teletypewriter connected to the California State University CDC cyber time sharing system. So I would type in little Delphi Pascal programs. That was back then. And then from there I moved into all sorts of other compilers. And early on, for the language Pascal, including digital research.
Questo è un libro molto interessante.
UCSD Pascal, Apple
Sono riuscito finalmente a finire di leggerlo, è una storia interessante. Secondo me per certi versi se ne facessero un film
Gary Wizen et al. Started
sarebbe come
Philippe
dire
gave me
buffo.
Turbo Pascal 1 floppy disks at Comdex Las Vegas trade show in November of 1983. Gave me an 8-inch
sono un po' le storie dei primi anni 80 quando
and a 5.25-inch
diciamo le compagnie nascevano e morivano anche a volte nello spazio di breve tempo, venivano assorbite.
We had a 2 floppy drive IBM PC and
i tempi delle guerre, Lotus 1, 2, 3,
I stuck the floppy
4
disk in and booted up and
che la Borland fece 4 perché ovviamente Lotus 1, 2, 3 cosa viene dopo il 3
didn't care about
cose di questo tipo.
Software distribution, I was working for a company.
Modulo 2,
so
ecco, nel libro c'è anche la storia di dove nasce il linguaggio, in questo caso Pascal, ma anche
I was an early member of the Pascal user group back in the mid-1970s. We had meetings and newsletters.
David Dye, miss your amazing voice.
I was a member of the Turbo user group up in near Seattle, Washington.
David Dye dovrebbe fare veramente un podcast, secondo me sarebbe interessante, sia per come parla.
Spammer. Then I
spammer. Anche negli Stati Uniti c'è il problema di gente che ti chiama.
So then I joined Borland in June of '85, and
luce e gas o roba del genere.
Did lots of things to help the company along the way. There were lots of very early Delphi builds. There was a specific seminal moment when the team could build and successfully run a first simple Delphi application, with a button, edit box, and list box, and so on, which became the sort of standard first demo to build. I don't remember the exact date of that. Charlie Calvert was working with me in developer relations. He wrote his first book, Turbo Pascal Programming 101, and was a member of the technical support group. And I went down and would visit with him and said, oh boy, I got to have this guy work with me in developer relations. He was so great at presenting and demonstrating and writing about things. And Delphi and Charlie also worked on his first Delphi Unleashed book during the whole development of Delphi, as well as help the documentation team with a lot of things about Delphi programming samples, the ECL, the language, and so on. The first sneak peek, even though there were NDA meetings throughout sort of the early part of June to show it to customers and some developers, the first sneak peek publicly was at the Borland conference in June 1994 in Orlando, Florida, at the Dolphin and Swan Hotel, where Zach gave a sneak peek of Delphi in a breakout session after Paul Gross did the language keynote, where talked about the shipping products, Borland C++ and Borland Pascal. We were still having to sell products at the time, but the decision was made before we went to what we called Borlando.
Borlando.
Delphi publicly and also privately in meetings. And it was at that session that Bill Dunlap also talked about exception handling, and Marco did some talks on object windows and some other things in track. After that conference, Ray Konopka was allowed to write an article for PC Techniques magazine.
Io ho trovato un mio listato in Assembly dei tempi scolastici, posso dire che non riesco a leggerlo. L'ho letto, ma non ho idea di che cosa faccia il codice che sto leggendo. È passato talmente tanto tempo che non...
I believe, if not the first, one of the first.
Ma neanche le miniscienze proprio, a parte
maybe Ray Stevens and some
Interrupt 21, ma per il resto non...
At the conference in Orlando in June.
Non aveva senso.
So that's sort of a lineage of how we got
è veramente una brutta
to the launch
però...
of Delphi. At the same time, I was traveling, still selling, products that we were shipping today. Or at that time before Delphi 1 was formally launched and shipping. So I had sort of two worlds to do, keep selling things and traveling and showing the stuff while the team was working really hard in Scotts Valley in the Borland campus. And so I talk about some of that in my blog post.
Devo dire che la sua memoria è veramente incredibile.
If you look at the 7 core team members that are in the about box of Delphi 1, where you go alt developers, capital developers. But then if you tap alt, hold down alt and hit TEAM, you'll see the 226 names of people who were part of the extended team that crossed the whole company, including on the database product side, because of the BDE and SQL links and all those things that were part of the things you could build with Delphi 1 Standard Edition, or just Delphi 1 and Delphi 1 Client Server Edition, or I guess it was Delphi and Delphi Client Server, as we talked about them in the fact sheet. So there was a lot of people who have gone on to do wondrous things in our industry. Some are semi-retired and or retired, and unfortunately a few of the names that are on that scrolling list. I put an animated GIF so
Pavel, for example. Yeah.
You know, you can see all the people over the history of Delphi who are still in our hearts and in our minds. From the original list, Danny Thorpe is one that comes to mind, and wrote the article about the Delphi name, why the Delphi name. So Danny was a very special person in many ways, and we miss him as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few like him that have passed away. I mean, Pavel was another one who was very prominent.
Yep.
And you know, for those that have not seen this book, and shame on you if you haven't, because we really tried to make sure people knew about it. But by Marco Kaiser, I can never say his name. I'll call him Marco G because I'm a useless British American who can't.
Anch'io non mi ricordo mai come si pronuncia quel nome.
The book is Pioneering
Molto bellino quel libro lì comunque.
And it is
si legge molto scorrevole in una notte,
Delphi and Pascal.
Forse anche meno, perché io sono lento, si legge.
GDK, the people that do that Delphi summit as well. I know they've considered David I going over to the Delphi summit. I don't know whether they've spoken to you at all about
it. Devo farlo pure io.
They mentioned.
I've been talking with Marco on email, and I told him I said, here's some things I could talk about if I was there, but I haven't. Still talking with my wife, and then Roland Appel in Embarcadero, Germany, also wanted me to do something at the Econ in I think it's in September maybe, or November, I forget. But you know, for me, it's what keeps me young. I wrote my first program 56 years ago in Fortran. So and this June, a week after that Delphi summit, I'll turn 74. So for me, programming keeps me young. It keeps me alive. I always said one of the things about programming now that we have these computers, we don't have to lug around. You know,
scrivere programmi mi tiene giovane, mi tiene
notebooks and so on that
vivo, penso, nel senso di
that's the great thing about software. You know, you can program at the beach. I don't have a ruggedized or waterproof, but I suppose it'd be great if I programmed while I was scuba diving, for example. But that would be kind of
programmare mentre stai facendo scuba diving, non so se è così facile.
I'm a big fan of Google Chromebooks, and that is a device that you can run Android apps, and I'm actually, I think, supposed to be doing a session showing Android apps running on that, but it's interesting stuff.
I got Delphi apps running on my Android tablet, and I've got them running on,
ne ho piazzate un paio di Chromebook, tra l'altro.
Apps in the App Store on my iPhone.
Parenti, morosa.
It builds on top of what something Marco did a few years back.
Se dovete dare un computer a una persona che magari ha qualche difficoltà con i PC tradizionali, secondo me il Chromebook è un'ottima scelta, anche perché
this one called the Actual News Dispatches uses
agli
RSS
altri,
feeds for all the news sources and bloggers around my Ashland, Oregon area, in Southern Oregon.
Tipici,
and it lets you look at all,
a meno che non debba usare programmi
and then
specificatamente fatti per Windows o per Mac,
and flip to,
leggerla
to the browser window for
qualche
that
editor.
article. So I don't
si può usare Google Documents,
scrape the articles or do anything weird with them. I just
devi lavorare prevalentemente connesso, però secondo me è un'ottima alternativa. Si accende in poco tempo, viene aggiornato a lungo come dispositivo. So che può eseguire anche applicazioni Android, sarebbe interessante provare a svilupparci sopra con Delphi.
So the things you can do in Delphi, and I know
però secondo me ha degli ottimi vantaggi.
Ho
lavorato con Marco G per un po' di anni, è un really nice guy.
The wonderful beauty of having
Comunque il nome Marco è una
building
garanzia,
multi-device applications as well. But I'm a patient person. I mean, I've been around.
Marco Cantù, Marco Goethe.
But it's all just fun. I miss everyone.
Adesso scrivo un
I
altro
don't
messaggio, ho
miss the
scritto
long flights and the travel and the immigration.
Sviluppatori Delphi che si chiamano Marco sono il
so
top.
many great experiences and friends with partners and customers and friends of Delphi and friends of all the developer tools all over the planet, except where it's like dangerous to go to. So
people always say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky because you get to go to the conference in Brazil and you get to go to the conference in Amsterdam, you get to go to the conference in Germany." And Antonio knows as well, because I know Antonio did like a world tour, well, European tour of everywhere as well. And what people don't realize is it's great if that's something you do now and again, like, I'm going to Brazil. That's your big trip that year. But when you go to Brazil, then you go to Poland, then you go to Germany, then you go to France, and then after a while, the last thing you want to do is get on a plane and go anywhere. You just want to go and sit down and watch TV or something.
Don't get me wrong when I say this. I love being with developers. I love being face-to-face with customers. One of the reasons I switched from heading the R&D programming languages team at Borland was to become the language ambassador to the world. That's what my first title was, and then we said, okay, developer relations and developer advocates. In any case, there's nothing. Try to sell something to someone if you can't shake their hand and at the same time reach into their pocket and take their wallet, and then hand them the product. So I wouldn't trade the more than 4 million miles and the time out there for anything. It's
inadequate, don't you, Antonio?
You have to, face to face. This is okay, sort of.
It's low impact, isn't it? Yes.
But it's when you, as you said, when you're in Europe visiting with developers, when you're in China, in Japan, in Australia, in Brazil,
Portugal,
visiting with, the only country there's many countries I wish I had visited. The only country I didn't visit in Europe for all of my career.
Non so se l'ho scritto corretto, ma
I would be in Helsinki, Finland. I'd be in Denmark. I'd be in Stockholm, Sweden, and the Norwegians used to come to in one of the other countries, and they'd always say, David, why don't you come and visit us? And I always felt bad, but I went where I was told to go, and there were great partners, and Martin Palmdeath was there. Those things. So I oftentimes would go to very large cities, large populations and big deals. But that's probably one of the countries. And Iceland was another one I thought would be.
They had me earmarked to go to Korea, and then South Korea probably had a big constitutional crisis with their prime minister or president or whatever it was. So they're like, yeah, but maybe that's not a good idea to come here. I'm like, okay, I was cool for it. I mean, what are they going to do? Yeah, but they're like, no, we think you should wait until our political situation has calmed down. I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. So David Millington, I want to ask you a little question about you. The a lot of people will say, well, what does the role of the PM involve? I kind of know some of it because I've done a PM's job in the past. I did get involved in a little bit of weird management type stuff. But first of all, how did you get into that? I know because you wrote the Parnassa stuff long before you came to the company, and then you seem to you're a product manager now, is that right? Or project manager? I always get confused between PM. Yeah. I always say, the PMs, but when I think about it,
project manager, product manager, the C++ builder.
Oh, look, I think I was really just extremely fortunate. I was using Delphi. I was running a small consulting company because I know I work as in C++ within Embarcadero now. But I mean, obviously, I love Delphi. It's wonderful.
Bene, la nostra figuraccia l'abbiamo fatta anche stasera.
And wrote a few plugins, and happened to be around the time that I think Idea was looking for someone with a focus on the IDE and modernization and that kind of thing. And I think I had been sort of trying to do some of the same thing externally, and everything just lined up. I was extremely fortunate. I really don't know why I was lucky enough versus some of the other amazing people.
Oh, we agree. We can't believe it either. No. I mean, I have to say, most of the employees I deal. I have a weird job. I'm everywhere behind the scenes. I don't know why. I just am. And I deal with the PMs. We kind of got slightly parallel roles in sometimes. What the PMs have to do involve what I have to do as well, and so there's a little bit of kind of collaboration, shall I say, between us when necessary. But all three of the PMs actually. We haven't got Nuno on here. I did ask him if he wanted to come on, but Nuno is the other one. He's kind of the silent PM because he works very hard, but he isn't kind of in your face and appearing at events quite as much. But all three of the PMs are extremely professional. I really, it's actually, this is true of everybody I deal with at Embarcadero, that you've never met such a bunch of fanatics about the product. Like they're not just like, oh, I do it for a job. They do it because they like it.
Togli questo qui il messaggio.
Some days they don't when everything's going wrong. But who doesn't have days like that? But overall, everybody's so engaged, so kind of enthusiastic. Same with Antonio as well, who works extremely hard. Doesn't work on the PM side, but again, he works crazy times. And we were joking about his European tour, but seriously, I was with him in Portugal. He'd just been in Poland or was going to Poland. He'd been to Germany.
I didn't go to Germany, but I was in Spain. Well, I'm from Spain, but I live in the UK. But there was like 3 weeks. I think I went to Poland, then to Portugal, then to the Netherlands, to Italy. It was jumping from. I felt like a pop star for a second. When you wake up in a hotel and you don't really know which country you are.
No photographs. no photographs. Yeah. But David, you don't tend to have to travel in your role, really, do you? I mean, it's not David Millington, that is. Yeah.
Not a great deal, although sometimes we're invited to various events and that kind of thing, which I really enjoy. I think we've been talking a lot about how travel can be tiring and stuff, and that's very true. But I know I find it really invigorating sometimes to talk to meet people in person, and talk to people who are actually using what we build. Also, because it really synchronizes you with what people really want and need.
Non so che ore sono nel.
It's a complicated answer, but.
I think scrivete un altro messaggio.
There are two answers. Internally inside a company, I think a product manager is really a facilitator more than anything else, because there are so many areas of a company. Your sales team, and your marketing team, and your engineering team, and the business leadership, and so forth. And, you need to speak and understand all those languages. The best thing you can do is to facilitate for everyone. But I think externally speaking, what we do is we try to design. And we try to plan such that we can, deliver something that people are going to find really valuable to use, because that's good for you, and that's good for the business, because if people want to use it, they will pay for it, and obviously the business needs to keep making money. So that's my answer. One side facilitator, the other side, I don't know, trying to understand and design and plan as best you can for that.
I always say to people, my role is because I'm a developer. That's my background for all of my effectively. I did some other things as well, but it helps me when I'm talking to a customer who's going, or a user. Really, I don't like to call them customers, but they when they've got a problem and they're saying, "I'm trying to do this," I actually understand because I've done that. I've been there when. You know what it's like. People ask me, sometimes I used to talk to schools sometimes about jobs and things like that. And I used to say to them, the thing about software development is that it's the best job in the world and it's the worst job in the world. Because the reason it's the best job in the world is there are very few jobs where it comes out of your head and becomes real. And it's a very involving, very absorbing, when it works, you've told the program how to do something and it works. It is fantastic. It is kind of like some kind of divinity has touched you, and you feel like you're walking on water. I'm the greatest person in the world. Look at what my program does. Aren't I clever?
Quando lo traduci nella realtà e funziona, chiaramente
you sit in front of the program and it doesn't work, or someone tells you there's
però
a bug,
quando non funziona,
and you sit there for 3 days and then you realize you've misspelt something really stupid in a really stupid way, and you go, I can't believe it. I'm so stupid. I'm really terrible. Every developer out there who's watching this stream will go,
può succedere che fai.
Yep, I know that feeling. And that's what you try and tell people, is that when you're becoming a developer, it can be very frustrating, because some days, when you get to a certain level of development, there isn't anybody you can ask. You're the one with the answer. And if you haven't got the answer, then you can research it, you can talk to colleagues and things like that. But at the end of the day, quite often, it's got to come out of you. And that can be a very lonely place when something horrible is happening. And luckily, we've got all the tools in Rad Studio to highlight where you did something dumb, this is where you made those dumb mistakes, but also to facilitate the greatness, the happy moments where you're like, I rule. So, well, look, I don't want to take this.
I was about to say something else, if I might. I have two.
Yeah. There's no time limit, but unless everybody drops off and falls asleep on the chat.
The other thing about being a PM here, I think, is that is a product with a long history and a really, it's been a lot of value for a lot of people, and there's been a huge amount of people who've worked on it over time. It's actually one reason, David, why I was so happy to see you on the stream today.
Andremo avanti 10 minuti, un quarto d'ora, poi dopo chiaramente stacchiamo, anche perché non so qual è l'orario là, però io devo ancora mangiare da oggi, a meno che non facciano vedere qualche altra cosina.
We really need to understand
Però è stato carino vedere
all of us stand on the shoulders of giants. Every one of us, whether we go back to Turing or Age
Lovelace. Team effort as well.
Vedere live questo festeggiamento di questo traguardo
it's wonderful here to be at the 30th anniversary, and
una cosa da poco, perché 30 anni di storia che comunque continuano ad andare avanti.
Over 3 whole decades.
Come dire,
I've said this before on live streams with David and I. As a Delphi developer, when I was learning to use Delphi, David I was the guy that taught me how to do it. And when I'm thinking about the knowledge that I gained in Delphi years ago, it's David I's voice inside my head saying stuff. Someone said you should do like podcasts or something because you've got a great voice. As a voice actor, which, believe it or not, weirdly enough, I do. I don't speak with my natural accent, which is what I've got here when I do them.
Un podcast di David I lo seguirei volentieri.
More like David Millington, who's much
anche su Facebook e nei vari social, a volte su Twitter condivide.
But David I mean, you're the voice in lots of people's head.
Condivide delle cose molto interessanti come punti di vista, notizie. È uno che diciamoci abbastanza nel software.
There was no such thing really as developer relations or developer advocacy.
Secondo me
you should
ottimo
be a developer evangelist. I don't like that title.
Come evangelist,
I think
come
it makes
developer
it sound like
relationship,
convince you to join us against your will and believe in something that is, a higher power. No, I advocate.
Personaggio molto carismatico, ecco, questa è la sua caratteristica, secondo me.
I hope you will come and join us. And that's what I consider is advocacy. I didn't want to be tech evangelist or something. It just sounds too kind of,
Is this the bit where we're all supposed to make David I feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Gosh, I hope I didn't do that.
So, I mean, here's my take. I don't really care about the titles very much in some ways, but it's more what it is that's going on. And when I started traveling, because Philippe said, hey, we need somebody out there who can explain things, but who can listen and understand and ask questions when people ask for
questa era la cosa in cui lui era più bravo.
And you can get that through surveys, sorta, kind of, but it isn't until you're
IoT,
face to
anche
face
l'IoT è un ambito dove sicuramente Delphi è
that you can bring back
Ship
to
from the
the
Firewalls,
product
è il
planning
blog
process
di
and to the
David
product
Dye.
team, what people really want and need. But again, the other part was we realized early on, even the Turbo Pascal days, and we had these little toolboxes for database and editor and game works and so on, that we couldn't build everything that a developer would need. And so if you look at Delphi and the component architecture
Ho
and
trovato un bug
the
mentre lui parlava
API for the
del
IDE
fatto che
and all the
si trovava un
tools and
bug.
component packages, and when Delphi 1 came out,
sta.
okay, DLLs and controls, these whatever they were called back then, VBXs, I guess it was, that still wasn't going to be everything that developers need to get the job done. And so building up a community to buy the product, a technology partnership base to build the things that we couldn't get to, the book authors, the professors,
non è una cosa facile gestire
and on was
quando hai
really
prodotto la
a big
community
part
di
of it.
persone
And
che
for
poi
me,
compra, i partner,
I
che fanno
needed to learn as
componenti
well,
terze
so I would
parti,
write programs, and there's nothing like
gli autori dei libri,
sometimes even live demo
tester,
where you're just trying
è un
things
team
and
che
it
richiede un
doesn't
certo
work, but
effort.
that's the real world, and people are seeing you real time
Sono sicuro, ho avuto
struggling
una
with something. But what's great is
di David
at some of the
Dye.
user group meetings, I didn't have
Mia moglie me le fa
to catch
indossare sulla
everything because
casa.
everybody else was catching everything by watching the screen.
Ci sta, quei colori
And
sgargianti.
I would go like,
Oppure
well,
quando
I
fai il
know, but then
barbecue.
I'd hit compile and it would compile
O
so
quando
fast it would
lavori,
take me
quando
to the line of
sviluppi,
error. That was faster than scrolling back to something I did, 2 minutes ago,
That's
way up on the
true.
screen.
It's one of the few compilers where you can do something because you're not sure it's going to work. Compile it and go, it didn't work. I need to do it properly this way. And that people don't realize that's not normal. It wasn't normal at all back in Delphi 1 days. You would, for C compilers of the time, you could go away and make something to eat and come back and it would still be compiling. COBOL was awful. I worked as a COBOL programmer for the longest time, but I was a C dev.
Il momento in cui è uscito Delphi, quando tu avviavi una compilazione, potevi andare a farti un caffè perché ci voleva del tempo.
And went to the line that was the error and highlighted it and went, see this is broken, you've messed up, you did the wrong syntax or whatever.
And that was a common complaint early on, is that we had ruined the coffee breaks for developers. They couldn't justify walking away and coming back to their bosses.
I have a T-shirt that says "I'm not slacking off, my code is compiling." It's completely
come scusa i tempi di compilazione per andare a prendersi un caffè.
Well, I mean, my feelings about you. That I think you. I don't want to use the word legend because it makes it sound like you're going to go the way of Old Yeller or something like that. But you are. I know it was a job, but as you made it clear, it was something that you were very passionate about, and you are the template for people like me and all the others that have been before me and things like that, to make it clear. I work the same principles on. I want to talk to people. I want to hear what they got to say. Sometimes it's very frustrating when people are being very negative and don't want to listen to the truth. But again, if they're negative because something's wrong, it's better they tell us. Tell me the good and the bad. Because how can we improve if we only ever listen to the people that are our fans? We need to listen to the people that are not happy or they've got a problem. And I do. That's part of my job, is to make sure. And I say this to people: email me. I might not have the answer, but I will make sure the people who have got the answers.
Devrello almeno a questo livello un'azienda che fa prodotti di sviluppo.
That you're a voice. If you don't like something about Windows, if
quando la gente ti scarica e ti racconta solo problemi, non è mai contento di nulla, però poi comunque
I guarantee you do not have a name to email to say this idea is horrible. I think the company should rethink it. They have they've got 1 billion users. but they still have nobody who you can say it's so-and-so's fault. Not true of Embarcadero. You've got several people, not just me, but the PMs, even Antonio and people like that. You can email them and you will get a response. If you email me, I will reply. Today's weird. I've been super busy, but usually I'll reply within an hour, a couple of hours at the most. I get a lot of email, but I manage my time very efficiently. That's unusual for a company like
Io devo raccontare un aneddoto che io una volta avevo un problema con anni fa. Problema con una licenza Delphi da attivare che non si attivava.
Why wouldn't I be?
Ho ricevuto supporto tecnico via Facebook da product manager.
Quindi. It's one of those things.
I should say one thing. I had the luxury before I joined Borland of meeting with Atari wizards back in the days of Atari. They were called wizards.
Yes.
And also I met two of the early evangelists at Apple. Guy Kawasaki and Ron Rossman. They brought me a Macintosh, an original Macintosh in a covered bag. Because it hadn't been announced yet, and they said they wanted me to play with it because I worked for a software distribution company, and they would need to get a lot of Macintosh software into the computer stores, into the distribution channel. And so I learned a lot back then. I changed my title over time. I think advocate is a good term, if any, versus, evangelist sounds like you're just trying to raise money, and just speak. Get it. Yes, exactly. It was sort of like get them in the big tent and take their money. That was the evangelism on a sort of religious angle.
That was what I objected to.
For me, I use the term now cheerleader. I'm a developer cheerleader. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, I care about Borland's. I care about C++.
I'm not wearing the skirt, David. I don't care how you try and convince me.
So I use developer cheerleader to cheer on. It doesn't matter what language or what technology or what computer you're using. I'm going to be there to cheer you on and give you oxygen and sustenance to help you in your endeavors.
I have to say, Stefan Nyland, who, as we know from the videos, is a smart guy. David Millington, this is one for you because David and I occasionally discuss the AI stuff. Stefan suggests that any AI product that we have from Embarcadero should be called David AI. I'm like, that's a very good name, David AI.
It's a beautiful name, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we didn't think of that, did we? But there you go. It was like I did that thing.
Almeno le battute che facevo prima non erano così brutte, si può dire.
To show that you can do the user interface, and I called it Instagram, and Dave Nottage said, "Why didn't you call it Instagram?" I'm like, it was such a good name, and I miss that as well. There's so many good names that go by. Dave, you're talking about buying a Pascal on a Macintosh, is that right? Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that was really just something I put in the chat when Dave was.
Oh, right. Shouldn't have mentioned it. Whoops.
One of my more humbling memories was, like a school, for example. I used Pascal and Delphi, and probably Pascal. I don't even remember what it was back then. Pascal of some sort. And computer teacher dropped me into a coding competition in Pascal. I was like, sure, I can do that. Walked into the room, it was full of Macintoshes. I'd never used one before. They set me in front of a Pascal environment. It was missing all of the libraries that I knew about, all of the units I knew about, all of everything. I failed completely. I couldn't do anything. There was no sysutils. It was a humbling experience in terms of the coding competition. I probably came last, absolute last. I really don't remember, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I'll tell you something that happened to me, which is along a similar line, where you can take these paths in life. There's been a few movies about it, sliding doors and all the rest of it. And Pascal nearly got me a job at Apple. Pascal did. And it was Apple in the UK. At the time, I think most people know this, that Apple were a very big Pascal user. They had their own version of Apple Pascal, which was interesting language, and they used it to write a lot of their products. And a lot of their application development, because they still in those days had their own applications they used to write and then sell, because when they first started selling AppleKit, you needed software to run on it, otherwise why would you buy it? And so that they encouraged third-party developers to write, but they also had their own apps, and one of them was Apple Accounts. And I saw an advert for a job, and they said they wanted someone who could write in Pascal and C, I think it was. I can't quite remember. And the reason was that they needed someone who could use both languages and convert some interfaces to Pascal, some Pascal things to C, and work in both. So I went for the job interview. First of all, it was a surreal experience, big glass building, and there was a guy cleaning the windows. And I wasn't sure what floor it was to go for the interview. So I said to this guy, excuse me, I don't know whether you know what floor.
Ho capito, sviluppava da Apple, ha visto uno che lavava le finestre fuori.
I said, well, I've got a job interview. I'm looking for a so-and-so. I won't say the person's name. And he went, oh, yeah, that's me. He was wearing like jeans and a ripped up T-shirt. He was absolutely covered in crap, And I went, oh, okay. And I thought, okay. So I went to Metroworks Pascal. Yeah, I went in with him, had the interview. He gave me some coding questions, which were not difficult, and we talked about C. And I said, oh, it's like a high-level assembler basically, and we talked about the nuances of it. And he went, great, okay. And in those days, you didn't tend to phone people. You would write to give them a job offer, or you would tell them on the spot, or you would say, can you come back in a week's time or whatever. But anyway, as I was going out, he said, oh, we'll probably offer you the job. And then I got someone, I think it was an agent, phone me up and say, oh, they've offered you the job. However, in the time that it took for them to do that, I decided that Apple was going down the tubes. I was going to go bust. So I said, no, thank you. I don't want to work for Apple. And it was a subdivision of Apple. But yeah, I turned down a job working for them, which was a bad idea. So it was just the way it is.
To be fair, it's a subdivision that probably didn't survive the cuts.
No, I'm sure they would close, and I probably wouldn't survive in Apple anyway. I haven't got the right personality for it. But yeah. Anyway, so look, we're cracking on. It's probably time to call it a day. For some of you, it's super, super late. For the British-based people, which is
infatti questi da varie parti del mondo, secondo me c'è gente che è notte, da qui è giorno.
At night, nearly, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it's going to be
attorno al mondo.
David, it's like
even later.
Oh, I don't know. He's earlier, and then David Millen. So, what time is it for you, David?
Huh? About 10 p.m.
Yeah,
but I like. Magic of technology. Here we are. I'm on an island in the middle of the Baltic Sea and talking to you guys in America and England, and
it
talking about a wonderful technology product. It's been a blast. So
yeah, it is amazing, really, and things have changed so much since those days. But I think for the better. It's an exciting time to be alive. I think AI has got some very interesting things that are going to come out of it, good and bad. I'm in the industry quite as long as David and I, but I've been pretty 40 years plus actually as a developer, and I've seen many changes as well. I still to this day I love Delphi, and I am very lucky, I think, to work for the company, do the job I do. It's not difficult for me to be positive about it because I genuinely think it's a great product. So it's there's always little issues with anything, but I think fundamentally I'm a very lucky person to do the job I do, and I get to talk to you guys on a regular basis. Richard Hatherall is the reason I have Richard on is because he is a super smart guy. You're on for another webinar in the future. I'll talk less on those ones. All right. Yeah, thanks here. And Antonio, thank you to you as well. You are one of those people that carry the message far and wide, further than I go. And, it's these kind of people that need to recognize that the reason Delphi is still around is still successful. I know people say, oh, Ian, it's this. No. I am the public face you see on the screen of a big team behind us. There are people like April. There's people like producer Martha, who's not on at the moment. I think, oh, yeah, she might be. Martha, there's all those people that
tutti I giorni, soprattutto con una certa competenza, perciò
who work very, very hard. I'm the one you see the most often on the screens, but I'm carrying our collective message about the product out there. But it's people like Antonio are really at the coalface, and Richard, you know, without products like Richard's stuff,
anche il white paper che ha scritto
su, David Millington,
su Web Stencil,
David takes all the flack and gets none of the benefits. Every day, welcome. There's another new thing for you to deal with. Yes, exactly.
And Ian, if I could, let me give a plug to Antonio for all the great work, and Stephen's not here now, on updating the RAD server course and the RAD server manual to bring it up to date, the book, to bring it all up to date, so that people can use Delphi to create server-side backends, both lightweight and heavier weight, I guess,
and
would
web
be the way to say it.
He wrote the Web
Good job.
Stencils book as well.
Yeah.
And he also did this book as well, which is a new thing on the Get It. It's our
questo poi lo vado a scaricare, che voglio vedere.
For today.
Quindi c'è una nuova categoria books.
And it'll say books, click on there. There's only one
tra i package che si possono scaricare per andare a tirare giù,
you know, if you're new to it, or even if you're not new
un
to
libro
it,
gratuito.
You can go ahead and download that book for free today.
Quello può essere interessante anche come spunto per percorsi, per fare anche qualche tutorial.
My colleagues Fernando and Alicia have done an amazing job with that book.
Oh, Fernando, you know what? Yeah, he's another guy.
So has been a team effort, this book, and updating the RAD server one. It was quite a challenge because it was your name, David, on the cover. So I really was trying to make a good job with it, because it also was one of my first tasks when I joined. Well, thank you very much.
You asked ChatGPT how many floppy disks it would require for a current ISO, and it said 5,257 floppy disks.
Yes,
I'm sure that is probably the highest supply in the United States ever. So, you know, in the last 5 years,
floppy,
because I don't think they're very common now. But I did see one for sale in a local Office Depot or something like that. I saw some floppy disks. I thought, I don't believe people still use them, but apparently they do. So, I mean, vinyl, I understand, but floppy disk, good grief, yeah. Who's got a machine that can even load it?
I don't even have a CD-ROM or DVD player on my computer anymore.
Oh, I've got an external floppy drive, 5 1/4 and 3 1/2 that connects to my USB IDE controller that I plug in if I need to copy it. The only one I haven't tried is my zip disk. So there you go. But
I used to have a zip disk as well. Well, my brother does. My brother is
we'll
connected
be
as
here
well.
forever. If we start talking about old pieces of kit, nobody's going to eat. We'll be here for the next. I can tell you about tape drives. You know, I used to be a COBOL programmer. Believe me, I can outdo you with tales of computer kit.
And I have to go shovel snow and break up some ice in the driveway.
Exactly. So. You live in the frozen north, and I live in the warm and sunny south. So there you go. All right. Well, look, I appreciate all of you, and I want to thank everybody as well. Or, you know, all of the people that turn up. There's some people that are regulars, Paul and Knut and Francis and people like that. I can't call you all out, but you know, I just want to say thank you to you. I'm not going to put me on the big screen. I'm going to leave everybody on here for now, but. If you're in Europe, go to the Delphi Summit. If you can afford it, if you've got the ability to go, it will be a big deal.
Amsterdam è una bella trasferta.
But I want to thank my guests, which Antonio, David Millington, Richard Harrell. I'm sorry I talked a lot, and sometimes you didn't get to talk as much as perhaps you should. But
si parte in macchina un paio di giornate.
And also, someone Delphi Modern Philosophy send a book link. Just go into the Get It package manager, click on books, and there's only one there. For the other books, you need to go to our website, go to Embarcadero.com, and you can see the books there.
I just wrote a blog post as well about
this. blogs.embarcadero.com, and it's on there as well.
Okay.
But, you know, if not, email us. And send Antonio a load of emails. Go on, let's hassle him.
Man, that's Ian's thing, not mine.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Yeah. Any question?
Anyway, well, look, thank you. But more importantly, 30 years in, I just want to thank every single one of you that is watching this video. You're probably a fan, or you accidentally landed here when you were looking for something to do with polar bears and ice skating or something. But hey, we're good too. And you know, all of us here on the call, we're all fans as well as people that have been involved in the product. But you know, the company is nothing without its users, and I appreciate every single one of you. And you know, please email me if you've got something to talk about to do with the product. I'm happy to hear from you, and I want to you know, say 30 more years, but I'll be too old, and I think David and I will probably not be around for the next 30th anniversary unless we're very, very lucky or preserved in a jar or something. AI will probably do by that.
Beh, potrebbe essere un'idea metterli in un
Futurama.
That's the one.
Futurama, esatto, con la testa parlante che fanno.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and I'm going to end the stream, but see you all again soon. Thank you all.
Okay.
Bye.
Quindi tronca diretto oppure fa vedere qualcos'altro? Dio, l'ha interrotta proprio così. Brutal. Si direbbe che l'ha interrotta così, proprio brutale. Ok, via. Così posso nascondere questa parte dallo streaming. Mi massimizzo anche perché così vedete il mio faccione. Dai, carini, mi sarei aspettato un po' più di... Se uno volesse scrivere... Oh, c'è ancora gente in chat, pensavo fossero andati tutti a letto, e quindi sfruttiamo questa piattaforma. Adesso è un po' limitata su Twitch perché sono su un altro programma. Libro su Delphi, puoi pubblicarlo? Occorre chiedere l'utilizzo di Embarcadero? No, direi proprio di no, anzi. Di solito si mette una dicitura, l'ho fatto io stesso perché guarda, ce l'ho qui. Adesso questo è un libro un po' particolare in inglese, però c'è il mio nome, perché giro alla rovescio, un casino avere la camera rovesciata. Questo è un libro gratuito che ho pubblicato con Syncfusion, che è un'azienda che fa componenti di terze parti fondamentalmente. Hanno staccato la live in questo momento, e tra le altre cose fanno un sacco di librini di 100 pagine. L'ho letto in inglese perché giustamente è internazionale, però una serie di libri molto interessanti perché in 100 pagine ti danno un po' quello che c'è da sapere su una certa tecnologia. Quindi se vuoi fare qualcosa con un linguaggio, con uno strumento, in quel caso sono molto utili, sono molto comodi. Poi è chiaro che l'obiettivo è, ok, capisci come funziona. Questo è più piccolo, ovviamente è più piccolino, così capisci come funziona, e poi ovviamente devi approfondire con i manuali veri e propri. Però no, di solito i libri che si trovano in giro, vedi che c'è scritto tutti i nomi, i marchi citati appartengono ai relativi fornitori, però secondo me scrivere un libro è proprio una cosa che può fare chiunque, anche perché stai scrivendo come si usa un prodotto, però non è che ti stai appropriando di know-how che metti nel libro, non è proprietà ovviamente di chiunque può parlarne, conferenze, in incontri, cioè è più o meno la stessa cosa. Quindi sul libro si può fare self-publishing, ci sono delle piattaforme che lo fanno, adesso non mi viene in mente neanche un nome in questo momento, ma mi capita spesso di vedere alcuni libri dove il link ti porta dove hai una track bar e puoi decidere quanto lasciare allo sviluppatore. C'è la possibilità di farlo anche con Amazon, però si prendono una buona fetta, ma giustamente comunque la distribuzione è abbastanza capillare, perché insomma con Amazon non si scherza, ecco, da questo punto di vista. Raggiungi ovviamente potenzialmente, tant'è che molti stanno scrivendo libri con ChatGPT, gli fanno generare contenuti, fanno i libri già pronti, che sono poi quelli che puoi leggere con Kindle Unlimited, perché poi ci mettono dentro roba un po' da poco, ecco, secondo me per certi versi. O libri molto vecchi o cose un po' lato tecnologico, lato narrativo, altre cose, probabilmente il discorso è un po' diverso, perché generalmente i libri tendono a costare un po' di più. Saranno tutti simili, sì, e poi col tono entusiastico di ChatGPT, però è interessante comunque ad oggi avere queste piattaforme, queste possibilità, uno può andare a fare, come dire, un po' di... cioè se ha tempo, ecco, più che altro secondo me è proprio il tempo che, a meno che uno non lo scrive in italiano, però c'è anche un lavoro di magari un revisore tecnico, qualcuno che rilegge, controlla la scorrevolezza cioè molte pubblicazioni hanno anche un costo perché poi vengono, tipo quelle di Pack Publishing ad esempio, c'è una persona che va lì, ti legge ma scrive un libro su come scrivere un libro con ChatGPT. Con ChatGPT lo fai, quindi... Vabbè. A parte questo, no, per cui è una cosa che si fa tranquillamente, cioè basta poi farlo, non è facile, anche quello di 100 pagine io ammetto che ho impiegato un po' di tempo, probabilmente non così tanto perché alla fine, esatto, funzione ricorsiva, quindi non così tanto come chi ne ha scritto ovviamente 200-300, però ti devi mettere lì, cioè, comunque un side project, poi non ho idea di come... Ad oggi fondamentalmente tutti ne scrivono uno, infatti ho scritto pure io, vabbè, questo non si può chiamare libro, anche se questo l'ho stampato poi da Amazon, cioè quindi era un ebook, però l'ho trovato anche lì e se lo cerco trovo in giro scaricabile, insomma, poi è carino avere comunque qualcosa che ti dici ho fatto io, ho scritto io, da un'infarinatura, ecco, andrebbe forse un po' aggiornato, però comunque è sempre un discorso di comunque esserci e fare qualcosa per la community. Poi si scarica gratuitamente. A me a suo tempo l'hanno anche pagato, però come dire, dico che è andato tutto in tasse, ma è andato tutto in tasse. Sì, no, è una bella soddisfazione, esatto. Più per la soddisfazione perché poi lo vedi e vedi che lì ci sono più di 300 libri pubblicati su varie cose, vedi che c'è anche il tuo su Delphi, però stati carini, quando gliel'ho proposto hanno detto sì, subito se vuoi scrivere, e quindi cioè, mi ha fatto piacere, però dopo c'è chi ha corretto la forma, c'è qualcuno che ha fatto revisore tecnico, ovvero non sapeva nulla o poco di Delphi, però seguendo il libro ha fatto le prove, quindi ha effettivamente testato che poi tutto fosse lineare, magari uno non leggesse il libro e ci rimanesse in mezzo. Cioè, secondo me è una cosa su cui loro hanno investito, anche perché poi dopo tu lo distribuisci gratuitamente, la gente magari va lì sul sito e si deve registrare e quindi comunque ci registra il tuo sito, tu gli mandi le email, pubblicizzi i tuoi componenti, sviluppi un po' per qualunque piattaforma, e quindi facevano un po' diciamo, si pagavano, è una buona forma per fare pubblicità, paghi uno per mettere un libro gratuito sul tuo sito, quindi tu lo paghi anche se lo distribuisci gratis, ma c'è proprio una pagina in ogni libro che parla di questa cosa, perché è gratis, dov'è l'inghippo, cose di questo tipo. Secondo me hanno avuto un'ottima idea, cioè così in questo modo fai promozione, dai un po' di visibilità, rimangono lì, puoi divulgare anche tante cose, non diventa troppo impegnativo, quindi comunque sono libri che si riescono a scrivere, in quelle 100 pagine tu riesci a capire bene o male se la tecnologia fa per te, fa un po' come reference, e poi da lì puoi partire, andare a vedere altre cose, e quindi, come dire, in quel caso ci mancava, mi fa piacere aver aggiunto io il tassello. Scrivere un libro è più impegnativo. Una volta, anni fa, con alcune persone avevamo provato a imbastire un progetto per scrivere, come dire, un libro open source, però c'erano un po' differenze di visioni, diventa un po' difficile a chi magari ritiene che quella cosa sia scritta troppo basic, chi dice deve essere più basic perché comunque dobbiamo parlare a tutti, cioè non è facile, ma anche solo mettersi a fare delle iniziative qui, cioè quindi anche solo io tutte le cose che più o meno ad oggi ho cercato di fare è un po', come dire, non è che faccia più di tanto, faccio un po' di live, dovrei rimettere in piedi un po' il podcast e fare le nuove puntate, però sono cose che io ho sempre proposto anche ad altre persone, perché secondo me deve essere, perché è più, intrattieni di più, e quindi magari c'è, quando tu non hai tempo l'altro ce l'ha, oppure sei più spronato perché qualcuno ti dice dai fai questa cosa, come dire, dopodiché e quindi era anche un po' per darsi un po' il ritmo e anche per essere meno noioso, perché se fai un dialogo, fai una conversazione. Le live che io ho fatto con altri, anche provando dei tool così, mi sono piaciute molto perché insomma si ride, e quindi quello è un po' l'obiettivo. Però adesso vedremo di organizzarne una più presto con le persone che mi hanno scammato stasera, ad esempio, quindi cercheremo di organizzarlo. Dai, via, è tardissimo perché abbiamo iniziato alle 7, abbiamo fatto quasi 3 ore di live, io devo ancora mangiare, devo ancora fare tutto, e quindi meno male che non avevo impegni per San Valentino, no? Almeno per proprio stasera, quindi per cui martedì probabilmente non c'è la live, adesso vedo se riesco a recuperarla magari giovedì o così. Buona cena, allora, grazie a voi che siete rimasti qua a seguire, perché hanno fatto molto chiacchiericcio, mi sarei aspettato un po' più di contenuti di primizie, di cose un po' magari di, come dire, di vecchio stampo. No, però vabbè, dai, la recupero giovedì, comunque una live la faccio comunque, perché martedì sono a un meetup locale dove si parlerà anche di sicurezza. Adesso non mi ricordo bene l'argomento, si fa qui nelle mie zone, e quindi mi piacerebbe magari fare una live da lì, ma bisogna, come dire, gestirla un po' meglio. Ho visto quegli stabilizzatori che si usano per i telefoni per fare le live in diretta, però costicchiano un pochino. Diciamo che prima di investire in quella cosa lì, siccome il canale non è che monetizzi, non monetizzando, diciamo, se devo farmi tipo un abbonamento per tenere questo strumento per fare le live con altre persone, ok, ma quello è un po' impegnativo. Pensavo costassero meno, perché chiaramente se c'hai, come dire, la schermata che balla, non si sente nulla, non c'è banda, non c'è niente, diventa un po' difficile. Quindi supply chain attacks, la minaccia invisibile dietro il tuo codice. Esatto, quello è il titolo ma tu sei di zona e non me lo ricordo, oppure l'hai letto, lo sai? Perché io non mi ricordo il nick a chi corrisponde, quindi vabbè, mio problema in questo caso, ma nel caso sì, sono di zona. Ah, ok, allora dimmi qualcosa martedì se ci sei anche tu, che così ci si vede. Grazie mille, allora poi mi aspetto un feedback. Ci vediamo martedì. Ah, ok. Non mi ricordo, probabilmente c'è un po' di gente, non mi ricordo chi è, ma nel caso poi ci parleremo un attimo. Tra l'altro forse riesco a far venire anche un'altra persona, quindi una ragazza, così incrementiamo anche le quote rosa, e quindi vedremo insomma, si allarga un po' il giro. Comunque supply chain attack sembrano argomenti interessanti. Io già ho fatto la coding gym, non ci ho capito una mazza, quindi mi devo un po' esercitare. Adesso faremo una serata lead code dove proveremo gli esercizi che ci sono lì sopra, cercheremo di risolverli e faremo un po' di coding gym. Sono stato alla coding gym e lì ho scoperto di non sapere una mazza, cioè tutti col teorema di Gauss, questo teorema di Gauss che io non conoscevo, dove la somma dei numeri fino a un certo valore, c'è una formula che te la calcola in diretta. Io non ne sapevo nulla, quindi avrei fatto un ciclo. Vabbè, questo ve lo racconterò un'altra volta, perché non è lunga, ma come dire, è una roba più, cioè, un po' particolare. Io non sapevo niente, che ho detto, io avrei fatto un ciclo e avrei sbagliato di grosso. Non sono banali questi esercizi, infatti è stato molto interessante. Non so se riuscirò ad andare a una delle prossime, ma vabbè, quindi buona serata con vostre mogli, fidanzate per San Valentino. Comunque ci sono tutti i riferimenti al canale Telegram nell'home page sia su YouTube sia su Twitch, li trovate tutti lì, così la prossima live la pubblico lì o sui social come al solito, quindi ci teniamo aggiornati lì. Grazie mille veramente per la presenza. Ciao a Jax o Jason, come si suol dire. Grazie anche a Mr. K, ha fatto piacere un sacco, e ci vediamo alla prossima, o dal vivo con chi ci si vede dal vivo. Ciao a tutti, ciao, buona serata, alla prossima. Ciao Cimezza, visto adesso, scusate. A chi Joseph, giusto, ho sbagliato. Ciao a tutti, alla prossima. Ciao ciao.